Board with Video Games, the gaming podcast that strives for the right balance of coverage for games you play on your table and on your television. We're a proud member of the PSVG Podcast Network and thrilled to be part of the Dice Tower Network as well. I am one of your hosts, Kyle Hyman, and joining me on this co-op adventure, the guy who will soon be adventuring in a galaxy far, far away. Josh Borboni, how are you doing this fine evening?
I am doing fine.
Okay. Was the keyboard accents meant for something?
No, I don't know. No, I was like, why? In fact, I'm like, why am I typing right now? I shouldn't be doing that. I'm okay.
Okay, so here's the important question, Josh, of the moment. As we record this, we're roughly slightly more than 24 hours away from early access for Star Wars Outlaws. What is your hype? Where are you at? How are you feeling about, jumping into this game that seems to, people seem excited about it, but some people are kind of already hating on it. So what are your thoughts?
Well, it's impossible. Show me something someone isn't hating
No kidding, right?
And I will take that more seriously. But no, that's just the thing now. Everyone, that's what they do. The cool kids are just hating on things indiscriminately, just to get people upset. So I don't know. I'm not listening to that. I did watch some more gameplay from it. Just they've been posting some short videos of like planets and things like that. And then I watched the official launch trailer. I think that premiered at Gamescom maybe. It's weird. Like I'll talk about it when we're talking about games, but I'm just kind of struggling again to like get in that groove. So
Gotcha.
It's not that I'm not excited for it. I am. It's not like it used to be. And I think it's just reflecting where I am currently, not the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just like, oh, it's cool. I can't wait to play it. But I sit at home and I'm like, I should play something. What do I want to play right now? Like right now, I know I have so many choices.
Yeah.
I just can't land on something. So I'm hoping that Outlaws kind of fills that void, right? And it just was like, hey, I want to play this every minute that I have free and not just like sit in front of YouTube for 2 hours and go to bed.
You know what I've been toying with, and I don't know if this is a good idea or not, but what I've been considering, because I run into the same thing where I don't have a ton of time to play, or even if I do have a ton of time to play, I sit down, I boot up one of my consoles, I just like stare at all the games on the, cross media bar or wherever, and I'm like, I don't know which of these I want to play. I'm considering deleting everything other than like 2 games.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if that would then, when I boot it up, I could be like, okay, do I want to play one of these 2 things? Yes or no? If not, then I'm doing something different, right?
Sure.
Like, I don't know if that would work or not, but I wonder if removing that many choices, and I know like I could just go on and download something and wait, but I think if there, that level of friction, I think might be enough for me to just be like, I'm playing one of these 2 things or I'm not. And if I'm not in the mood for either of these, then I'm doing something different. I'm watching a movie, I'm reading a book, I'm doing whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if that would work.
I can't even tell you the amount of times I'll get into bed. It doesn't matter the hour, if it's early or late, and I'll grab my Steam Deck and I'll open it and I'll go to my what's installed section and I'll just like look at the 7 or 8 games that are on there. And like sometimes I'll launch one and then I will immediately close it because I'm like, nope, that's not going to happen. I'm not like, I don't know. So I know that feeling. Like I've tried that too. Like I constantly delete things off my Xbox. The only difference is now my son will be like, hey, can you install this? So either I can play it or so we can play it together. He'll play on his Xbox and I'll play on mine, or like we'll play together.
Yeah.
Or like we tried to play Battlefront 2 together because he got the Battlefront collection for Switch and he seemed to take a liking to it. So I was like, oh, let's check out Battlefront because it's on Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
So we tried that and like EA servers are broken. I couldn't create his account. It kept glitching. The game wouldn't load. I'm like, oh boy, like that's a mess. So sometimes that happens too. So then it just sits taking up 128 gigabytes on my hard drive in my Xbox. And I'm like, I should probably uninstall this. And then like tomorrow he'll be like, hey, can we play Battlefront 2 again? Like, yeah, wait 4 hours while I reinstall it.
Well, it's funny that you say that because listeners, as an inside, like right before this, Josh and I were talking about like the next games we're going to buy and like all that good stuff, and we had been messaging earlier how we were talking about Black Myth Wukong, and you were like, well, I'm kind of interested in it, and I was like, I'm like, I actually kind of am too,
Yeah,
but the reason I didn't bite on it is it's like over 100 gigabytes to download.
right.
And I was like,
Huge.
I don't want to deal with clearing that space, like and figuring out like what I'm going to delete and not delete.
Yep.
And that friction was enough for me to not spend like $50 or $60 or whatever the game is, just because I was like, I don't want to deal with figuring out where this is going to go. And also, then when I thought about it later, I was like, all right, but also Star Wars is coming out in like 2 days. Like I
Yeah.
can figure out something to do for 2 days, like, and I'm not
Yep.
going to finish that game in that time. So like, what's the point? Why would I jump into that right now?
Yeah. 100% agree. I
So
agree.
So yeah, but hey, it's been a month since we've podcasted. Anything fun or exciting going on in your life?
I don't know. I don't know, man. Uh, tomorrow's the first day of school
Yeah, it
for
is.
my son, so that's exciting.
Is it exciting?
I don't know. I don't know anymore. It's exciting for him, so that makes it exciting.
I'm glad
It's
that he's excited. That's good.
more response. It's just more. It's more like stuff, life
Yeah,
stuff. So it's just more to do on a parenting level. So summer's over. Uh, so yeah, that's going on. Work's been nuts. So that's been going on. Uh, yeah, my life hasn't changed too much for me. So still riding the gloom train. We'll get off at some point. It'll stop eventually.
you could make your own game. Like combine Gloomhaven and like Monster Train into Gloom Train.
Yeah, I could do that. I don't know who would want to make a game that could make you play a game who would want to make you clinically depressed. But you could try. Like, come try my game.
Well, there's a lot of games that are not very happy. I
There's
don't know that
there's no ending. It just keeps
it's called,
going on, and it's the same. Every level's the same.
and you never feel like you can actually win. And
I told my boss at work last week. I said someone made a comment about it being Monday. I was like, well, it's Monday every day for me. And someone was like, oh. I was like, well, I'm not kidding. Every day. It's Monday again. It's Groundhog Day, but for Mondays. If I was Garfield, maybe I'm Garfield. Am I
maybe,
Garfield?
maybe we've had a breakthrough right here at the beginning of the
I
podcast.
just realized it. Enough about my boring life. Tell me. I want to know about your trip. How's things going with you? How was your month,
Yeah,
etc.
so right after we recorded last month, I left for California like the next day and went to Disneyland for a few days. First time at Disneyland. I've been to World obviously a few times, and it was good. I think that there are definitely some advantages that Yield Disneyland has. The fact that Disney California Adventure and Disneyland are like literally a baseball throw from each other. So it's very easy just to walk between the two parks. Everything is just super close, which is very obviously different than Disney World when you're like, hey, I'm going to go to a park. And even if you're staying on property, it's like a 20-minute bus ride or 15-minute boat ride or like whatever, method of transportation you're using to get there. It just takes a ton of time.
Yeah,
But it's not like that at Disneyland or DCA. Everything is very close together. Everything is very tight. You can get from place to place very, very quickly. The parks themselves even are pretty small. Even though there's a lot to do, everything is like kind of on top of it. It's like everything's kind of on top of each other. Or at least that's kind of what it felt like to me for the first time being there.
yeah,
There's some neat things there. I think having it be the first park, there's some kind of cool nostalgia-y things that you've heard about or I've heard about and seen that are neat and cool. One thing that was super bizarre is that the Haunted Mansion there had been closed for quite a bit of time for refurbishment, and it just reopened like the week that we went, but it had been closed for so long. They for the Haunted Mansion there, they do a Halloween / Christmas overlay. That's the Nightmare Before Christmas. Well, it had been closed for refurbishment since they had that up. So
Oh,
they just didn't take it down because they're like, we
well,
don't
that's a
want to
good
like,
time.
like they're like, it's August, but like, we're not going to take it down to like shut it down in a month to put it back up, right?
Yeah.
So they just left it up, and I really thought that would never be something that I would get to see or witness, because I was like, why would I go to Disneyland at that time of year to
Yeah.
ever be able to kind of experience that? And it's really cool. It's a really neat overlay. Even if you don't like A Nightmare Before Christmas, it's still pretty cool. I'm a fan. I like A Nightmare Before Christmas, but I think it's still a pretty cool little overlay that they do for that, and it's really well done. Adds some nice, fun theming to what is still a cool, fun ride anyway. But so I got to experience that, which I didn't really ever think I would. But yeah, overall it was great. I think that I definitely prefer Disney World. There's just
Sure.
way more to do, which obviously makes sense. There's more gates, just more things. And I think the downfall of having everything be so close is like, one of the days we were there, it was sold out, and it was very, very busy.
Sold out.
Yeah, like
Oh
nobody
my
else could
God.
like buy. Yeah, like no park tickets were available.
Yikes.
And like at Disney World, I've been to Disney World, when not, more recently you had to get park reservations, and park reservations would sell out. So in theory, no one else could really get in. So I've been at Disney World also, and in the parks there when they're in theory, quote unquote, sold out.
Wow.
And while it's busy, it like, there are still, at Disney World at least, there are places where you can go if you just need a second to like get away from people.
Yeah.
But in like Disneyland and DCA, because they're so small, there's like no, you cannot get away from people. Like
Right.
there are always people everywhere you go. So I think for me that's not a huge deal. It doesn't really bother me, but obviously, try to be cognizant and sensitive, that there are sometimes kids who are having like meltdowns, and it's apparent like you don't have a place to really like go
Yeah.
like away from people to like try to handle that situation. Like you're just doing it in front of everyone, no matter
Yep.
where you do it, So I think that's a little rough. I got to meet Baymax, so that was pretty fun.
Nice.
So that was cool. Because he's one of my favorite Disney characters, slash Marvel characters. But yeah, it was good. I think overall, I don't know that we'll go back anytime soon. We had chatted about it. We're like, well, every 4 or 5 years, maybe we would go to Disneyland. The churros were wonderful. But otherwise, it was a good trip. Travel was super smooth. Had no issues with travel at all, which was great. Good time there. It was kind of funny because landed in California, and we flew into the John Wayne Airport, the smaller airport that's like really well, in theory, really close.
Yeah.
And I got my Uber, and the weather was gorgeous. Got there, the weather was beautiful. It's like upper 70s. I'm like, this weather is fantastic. This is so amazing. I got my Uber, and the hotel was 9 miles away. Took almost 40 minutes. And I was like, well, I guess there's a price to be paid for for this weather. So here we go, I guess. But, whereas I live about 22 miles from my work, and my commute's about 25 minutes.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's just very different as far as how all that goes. But so anyway, but it was good. Other than that, though, things are pretty much same old, same old. It has been really cool here, relatively speaking, and now classes start tomorrow for us from when we're recording, which is like a week late for us. It's kind of weird.
Oh.
And now like today it was like in the upper 90s. Tomorrow it's like 98.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's like it's been like relatively cool and nice. Like all summer, there's been like a couple like few day stretches where it got really warm, but it hasn't been a hot summer at all. And now classes are about to start, so of course now the temperature goes
Sure.
through the roof. So, but no, overall it's good. Last semester of classes for my doctoral program,
Nice.
so where I actually have to go to class, because next semester I just have to finish my dissertation, so I have credits I take and have to pay for, of course, but no classes. So
Great.
only one class this semester, and we're getting down there. So yeah, it's been good. Excited to roll into fall. Excited for college football to be starting. We just had week 0, so really excited for college football to be back, and yeah, we're gonna rock and roll. So.
Great.
Cool. But hey, enough about our crazy lives. How about we do a podcast about games? Does that sound good?
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, listeners, thanks so much for joining us this month. As always, if you have any feedback, questions, or suggested topics, hit us up at Board with VG on Twitter, or check out the awesome stuff over on the Instagram, also Board with VG. We are proud to be part of the Play Some Video Games podcast family, and we encourage you to check out all the shows like the PSVG podcast, the Nintendo Shack, and PSXP. You never know when a new show might pop up, so be sure to stay tuned to all of your favorite PSVG podcasts to stay up to date. We're also a member of the Dice Tower Podcast Network, so if you enjoy our conversations about board games and would like to dive deeper into that world, we encourage you to check out the Dice Tower Podcast as well as all the other members of the network. No matter what type of board games you enjoy, there's a podcast on the network that's right for you. With that, as one small programming update, September, so we're in August episode right now. September will be our typical September episode. October then, if I recall correctly, we're doing our top 10 board games of all time, correct?
Sure.
So that's coming up in October. November will be our top 10 video games of all time. Then December will obviously be like our favorites of the year, kind of wrapping the year out. And then we'll be back in January with, I struggle
Don't
to
promise
promise.
anything.
Not promising. Potentially an updated schedule. We'll see what happens. As the new year starts, maybe, we'll have a little bit of a new look for Board with Video Games. We'll see.
Maybe.
But with that, hey, Josh, what have you been playing lately, sir?
Hey, what have I been playing? Well, to put in my due diligence, I did try Cat Quest 3 and Signy.
Awesome.
I did expect to like Signy more than I did.
Okay.
Is it like the Dark Souls of Gradius? Is that what it is?
I mean, it is tough.
I did not enjoy it. It was not fun at all.
Yeah, it's very hard.
And I was trying to figure out if I was doing something wrong. So for me, that's like bad, right? Like if I'm trying to figure out if I'm doing something wrong in the first level of a video game,
yeah,
it's probably like not a game for me.
So let me ask really quick. Did you do the tutorial?
No, because you know what happened? What was weird?
What's that?
When I launched it, for some reason, it launched your save.
Oh, that is super weird.
I don't know how that happened. So it dropped me right in. And then I did realize that afterwards. And I backed out again. I made sure I was on my profile. I was. And then I went back and I had to create a new save because I didn't want to delete over it. And then it was gone. But then the tutorial wasn't there. So I didn't think there was a tutorial.
Here's the thing, though. And so you may not have been on my save, actually, because it is not auto. You have to go select the tutorial from the menu. Like if you just start the game, it puts you immediately into the first
because
level.
I didn't see tutorial on the list of options.
It's it's like I think if I recall, it's like under like options.
It's in the options menu.
It's like there is no like boot into tutorial that happens. It was very bizarre.
Okay. Well, I can only help that game so much then. Maybe I'll give it another go. But yeah, it looked really cool. It felt cool. It was just not fun to play.
Yeah, it's tough as nails. That game is hard.
Yeah. And then Cat Quest 3, I tried to play co-op with my son, and you can't play that game co-op on the shared screen. Forget about it. At least not with my son, you can't. So that was in fact, when you go to a point where you can heal yourself, there's also the option to log off of a 2-player. Like if you hold in triangle, it drops you out.
Yeah.
So I dropped out. I just handed him my controller and I walked away. He's like, "Daddy, what are you doing?" I said, "I can't play with you right now. I'm sorry. You have to play by yourself." So yeah. And then I just watched him fight things that were way too powerful for him to be fighting.
Yeah.
Games I am still playing. We talked about this earlier. I'll mention it again. Vampire Survivors just had a couple updates come up on the Xbox, so I jumped back in to check them out. I didn't download the Contra one still, even though the game's like, there's more DLC available. I know it's only $3 too, but it's not. I don't want Contra in my Vampire Survivors. Among Us is fun, but even that is a little bit of a skew away from what I enjoy about it. And then there was like a new map, and then I ended up beating the, I don't know if it's a proper ending or a secondary ending, but the game, like when you play through your plays, I think it's always a 30-minute timer on the maps. You might be able to change that, but at the end of the 30 minutes, death always comes and kills you no matter how good you're doing. But as you play the game more and get more boons and stuff, there is a way to defeat death. And then this ending I just got was like 7 different versions of death merged into one.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool. And I was able to take that out. So that was fun. Another achievement in the books. still playing it. That will probably stay on my hard drive for a long time. Because I know if like, hey, we're gonna go out to like Target in an hour, I'll just pop on and do 2 runs of Vampire
Right.
Survivors
Yep.
or less or more. Um, so still playing that. Still playing Baldur's Gate 3 with my buddy Joe. Continuing on with our playthrough. I mean, we're only in Act 1. We're not doing tons, but it's still a lot of fun. And like as he was saying to our friend group, we actually finally had a sit down like session where we felt like we got something accomplished, because usually we play and forget to save soon enough and get just murked and
Mm-hmm.
have to load an hour to go save
Oof. Yeah.
and go through it all over again. The good news is we're having enough fun that we are willing to do that.
That is good.
But I'm trying to make more mental notes on like save.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have like a proper quick save. I don't know why. Sometimes we'll enter an area and it'll be like saving, but it's not very frequent.
Mm-hmm.
But also because the game is so long, I feel like it probably doesn't do that with every story beat. So it's tough.
Yeah. Well, because I think part of it is they want you to be able to save where you want to.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah. And you could probably turn off autosave too. I might have turned it on, I think. Yeah. I'm replaying a top 5 game of all time for me. I know like you had talked about trying to get through your games. I was like optimistic, like, yeah, I'll play through my top 10 games this year. No, that's not going to happen. So for me, I'm going to aim for playing 2 of my top 5 games before we record fully to
Okay.
see if, because these are 2 games I'm curious if I play them again, would they change position on my list?
And
I'm
yeah,
pretty confident with everything else.
and just as a clarification, I'm not playing through everything.
You're
I'm
just
at
like
least
revisiting?
revisiting to see do
Okay.
I still, and as much as it holds me, I keep playing it. But yeah, I've been at least trying to touch everything and play it for a while.
Yeah, I might do the same, just put some time into them, but yeah. So I don't want to say which one because I don't know where it's going to land.
Okay.
So, but I am replaying that as well. And you're probably
You can
seeing
just
me
say it's
playing it.
Hades. That's fine.
It's not Hades. I mean, I'm always playing Hades. I did take a break from Hades too, just to wait for the next update, which will be a big one.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm giving that a little breathing room. And then also we're playing a little one-off for a D&D campaign. Our buddy who was out on his own paternity leave is back playing games with us. And we took a break from our Pathfinder campaign to do this thing called Delta Green, which I had never heard of. And it's a tabletop RPG. It's if you've heard people talk about D&D, it's the same, except we're all military or special
Oh.
agents. And this particular campaign we're playing, I'm an FBI agent, and I'm with a group of people, and we're investigating a child who went missing in 1980 and was found. Maybe the year's wrong. 1980 maybe. And was found in 2017, and he has no lost time or age.
Oh.
So that's part of our mission quest.
Is it too oversimplified to say that it's basically like
Fringe?
Black Ops, a tabletop RPG?
Yeah, or like Fringe or
Okay.
X-Files, something like
Okay.
that.
So a
I
little
don't
more
know.
sci-fi than
It's
just
more
like.
sci-fi. I
Okay.
expected it to be more military.
Mm-hmm.
But like immediately they were talking about like unnatural things, and I was as my character, I'm like, you mean, well, as me, like supernatural kind of stuff, and they're like, yeah, so it is more supernatural stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, that is all. Oh, and I left out one. Concord. Which one? The grape. Concord.
Grapes.
Concord. Yes, Concord. I'm playing it. I'm going to say Concord because it's an accent thing. It came out Friday. It's currently Sunday. I've been playing it a ton. I did play the beta for a good bit, not too much, but good enough to know I enjoyed my time. So yeah, I'm loving it. I love it. I really like it. I'm level 10 right now. in the game. My character's level 9, and I have a couple other characters that are like 2s and 3s. But yeah, it's been a ton of fun. And there's lore out there if people want it, but it's in the form of a star map
Mm-hmm.
with a ton of content to read. And as you play in different maps and planets, more stuff unlocks on the galaxy guide, so you can go read that stuff if you want. You also get experience points for reading / hovering over the new locations.
Oh,
So even if you don't want to do the lore, just go in and clear out those exclamation points marks so you can get some XP from it.
gotcha.
Um, yeah, I just realized how I'm saying a lot, but and I'll say but uh, uh, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I don't know what to say about it. I'm trying not to get caught up in the internet grief about it.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, I really like the gameplay. I think it plays fast. It plays very smooth.
Mm-hmm.
I immediately found a character I like, and I'm trying to play other characters, but I'm kind of just gravitating back to the guy I play as, not because I'm uncomfortable playing as other characters. I just really like Jabari. Jabari or Javali? It's Jabari. Um, I really like the character. We talked about it like a month ago when we were talking about the beta. But having the ability to heal and attack is nice. Suits my playstyle, makes me feel like I'm contributing to the team a little bit as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, it kind of. I was watching some replays, like when you like watching some of the teammates I'm playing with play, and it really reminds me of how I felt when I was playing like Unreal Tournament. It doesn't play like that at all, but
Mm-hmm.
my playstyle I'm noticing is just very much sprint into action and be chaotic in that action and then sprint away. And that kind of reminded me of like playing games like Quake Arena and Unreal Tournament back in the day. Definitely doesn't play that fast. It certainly plays more like Overwatch meets X Defiant,
Mm-hmm.
uh, gameplay wise, or even a little bit like what's that one with the cash? The fairly
The
recent game,
finals.
the finals. Feels similar to the finals, or even Apex a little bit. Um, but yeah, it's been a ton of fun, and I hope that the community gets their stuff together and gets behind this game. It would be nice to see some numbers that aren't Steam. I know that Sony's probably never going to release that, but it could help them if they did, potentially. Yeah. That's all I have. What about you?
Well, you know, a couple of the samies as you've been playing. So just
Yeah,
very briefly, Cat Quest 3 have been playing that. I obviously really enjoy the first two Cat Quest games far more than Josh does. They're just a little more up my alley than his, which is totally
sure.
fine. And for me, Cat Quest 3 is more of the same, but I mean, they have made some significant changes to like how the game is played. Like this game, when it's kind of interesting that they changed kind of the name of it, because when the game was first announced, it was Cat Quest Pirates of the Caribbean, right? And now it's just Cat Quest 3. I
Yeah,
don't even know if the subtitle is even there anymore. I would have to go look.
I'll check.
But you're a cat who is a pirate. You have a boat. So you have both, water combat and land combat, and there's definitely more complexity as far as your upgrades and how many spells you can do and special abilities and gear that like your ship has now in addition to gear that you have, and bonuses for gear that's aligns, and just a lot kind of going on there. But if you have played Cat Quest before, you're really not doing too much different than what you've ever done in a Cat Quest game as far as your you know you got a world map that you're running around, hacking and slashing stuff, throwing spells at them, and all that kind of good stuff. Really, again, you can technically go anywhere, but the enemies get pretty extremely hard in some areas. So you're not. That's kind of your cue that you're not supposed to be where you are. The story is ridiculous as always. The puns are ridiculous as always. But I'm still really enjoying it, having a good time with it. We'll continue to play it. I have not beaten it yet, but it is the game. If I only have like 10 or 15 minutes to play a game, it's the game I play, because saving is really easy. Like you can get like a quest or two done in 10 minutes and just kind of move on to the next thing. So really, really enjoying that. I also, we very briefly talked about, but didn't really say what it was. A game called
Oh yeah,
Signy.
sorry, I should have said
No,
what it was.
it's okay. It's called Signy All Guns Blazing. And this is basically a twin stick shooter shmup that's actually published by Konami, which is weird because Konami doesn't really publish anything these days.
Yeah.
But I obviously am a huge fan of twin stick shooters. I'm not as much of a shmup guy, but I in the context of a lot of twin stick shooters, or many shmups are twin stick shooters, I'll give it a whirl. And I will say, as we were talking about, this game is really challenging, like very, very hard. There is one of the things that's kind of unique about, not totally unique, other games do this, but one of the things that's makes it challenging is that you have both air enemies and land enemies, and you have to use different weapons to fight them both, and which is like different trigger pulls like to do that. And I don't know if maybe you missed that in the if
I
you get
missed
to do
that.
the yeah. So like anything that's on the ground, you have to like use your laser to fight, and then anything in the air, you use like your guns. So it really changes it up. And the first, you kind of go through this tutorial that you have to find to do it, and then it drops you into the first level, and the first level does not hold back. It really just drops you in, and it is going full throttle right away. So it is challenging. I will continue to play it, but I have to be in the mood to kind of get my teeth kicked in to play this game. Josh said it's the Dark Souls of shmups. Like, I don't know if it's quite that hard, but it is very, very challenging. Shmups generally are pretty hard, but it is a pretty good shmup. It is pretty expensive for, I think, what it is. I think if it is a few dollars cheaper, it'd be easier to recommend. But it is very hard. So you have to like that. There's a really weird, like, if you watch the trailer for the game, like, this is one of the things that Josh and I talked about. There's this really weird like butt shot in the trailer. Like, I don't know why
Yeah.
it's there, but like it's you're the character you're playing is a female, and she's like putting on her flight suit, and she's like wearing a thong, and like they like show, like, I don't know why they show that. But
Well, if the implication was that there's more of that after the first level, it might get me to play through
yeah,
the
maybe,
first
who
level.
knows, but yeah, so if you're looking for maybe a game that's a little bit under the radar, and you kind of enjoy that twin stick shooter, or you enjoy shmups, Cygni, which is Cygni, I think at least check it out, watch some videos of it, because like I said, it plays really well. It's very, very challenging, but it's definitely not going to be for everybody. And then I actually jumped into a game that was on PS Plus Extra, the middle tier, whatever that is. One of the games that they added last month was a a Metroidvania. There we go. I don't know where
Oh,
that word went
that's
from my
what
bed.
it is. It's
Yeah, a Metroidvania
Metroidvania.
called Ender Lilies Quietus of the Nights. Um,
Oh,
Not gonna
okay.
be your best Metroidvania ever, but honestly, I am having a good time with this game. I really have enjoyed the combat, the kind of figuring out the puzzles of how you go. The story is slightly interesting, where you are this girl who is trying to kind of restore this kingdom, because I feel like there's like this plague that took everything over. So you are able to ostensibly absorb in some way kind of like the spirits of these people who are there to help you, and then they're the ones who actually are fighting. So like when you hit like your attack button, it's whichever of those characters you have like kind of equipped like does their attack action. So it's this kind of really neat like looking and kind of interesting playing game, and different characters obviously have different abilities, and you can unlock new abilities and gadgets and like all this stuff as you go through. So I pleasantly surprised. Like, this was not a game that was on my radar, but I saw that it was on Extra, and I'm like, oh, okay, I enjoy Metroidvania. And then the number of people, like, the specifically for this game, the number of people who played it like just shot through the roof. And then suddenly on some of the PlayStation like forums and things like that for Extra, people were talking about like, hey, this game's actually like pretty good, you should check it out. So I gave it a whirl, and it's pretty solid. So if you have PS Plus Extra and you're looking for a Metroidvania, Ender Lilies Quietus of the Nights is a pretty good time. Another old game that I'm playing, oddly enough, as I have been working my way through my assignment of playing through some of my favorite games of all time. This is not one of them, but it was a game that I realized as I was playing something else that I had never actually gotten that far in. And I always talk about how I've played all the Assassin's Creed games. But then I remember I only played like a couple hours of Assassin's Creed 3.
This is my second favorite one.
Okay. So I went back and I'm now playing Assassin's Creed 3. I am probably 6-7 hours in.
Okay.
And this is the one that takes place during the American Revolution.
Is it
You're
like
playing.
remastered or anything?
It is the remastered
Oh,
one.
there is
Yeah.
a remaster? I didn't even know they did one.
Yeah, it's Assassin's Creed 3 remastered. So this actually also is on PS Plus Extra, and it also comes like with free. Oh shoot, is Freedom Cry the 4-1? The
The
small like
P-
standalone DLC
Liber-
Liberation.
Liberation. That was on the
Yeah,
PS Vita.
yeah. Okay, yes, the Vita game is also part of the package. So yeah, I'm going through and I the only thing I really remembered, I guess spoilers for like a 10-year-old game, but
Yeah,
longer than that old
longer
game.
than that.
That you when you started the game, you actually play as a Templar at the beginning,
Yes.
right? And I remember that, and I remember getting to the end of that, and then transitioning to Connor.
Yeah.
And the only reason I really remembered that is because the name of the trophy for finishing it is "How about them apples," which I just think
Oh,
was funny.
that's funny.
So once you finish playing as the Templar, but I something about this game, the combat in it is so chill, right? Like it very much is kind of that combination of like Assassin's Creed combat, but almost like Batman, even because
Yes.
you
The
can attack
branches and
people.
everything.
Yeah, but it's like you're just waiting to counter, and then you like counter, attack, 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 counter, attack, 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 and it just is this like kind of almost chill, like waiting. You're just kind of waiting for your opening to go. The one thing I forgot though that it has is obviously part of the newer games, but just the level of it is different. Is having to worry and carry so much about my
Companion.
not my companion even, because there's a lot of that though. My
Yeah.
goodness gracious, walking a lot of people to a lot of places. But just the idea of like how your notoriety level, right? Of like having to like go down and pull down posters or pay off
Yeah.
like the town criers or the people who make the posters to like change things, and like how much they're like looking out for you. It just, though that obviously exists to a degree in the later games, it's just different, right? And for the most part, you can just like kind of plow your way through things. But in this, like you get, man, like when they chase you, they really chase you, and you're like running all over the place trying to get away. You're trying to hide, and then you're like jump in. You're like, oh no, they still saw you. So you just hop right back out, and you got to keep
Yeah.
running and going. And just kind of forgot that that's such a huge part of Assassin's Creed, because I've been so into the last 3 games. Obviously, Mirage was standing, which also has some of these elements, but I'm having a really good time. I
Good.
am part of the reason I started playing this is I really am looking forward to Assassin's Creed Shadows. Like I'm really like itching to play that game. So part of me feels like I'm this really like basic AAA gamer these days, because I'm just really looking forward to that game.
Yeah.
But Assassin's Creed 3 might be slightly better than you remember, folks. But obviously Josh loves it, so he already knows how good it is.
Yeah.
So
In
it's your
fact, if I play it
favorite.
again, it'd probably be a letdown.
What's your first favorite then?
It's the second Assassin's Creed. Is it just two? I keep forgetting
Two,
if
and
they
then like
put
Brotherhood, and okay, so
yeah
just two.
two, and then I mean I really like Revelations.
Mm-hmm.
But three has a special place for me. It was my first PAX I ever went to, and it was the first thing we saw. It was behind like closed doors showing of Assassin's Creed 3. We got lucky enough to get in, and it was the first time we saw this like climbing the trees
Yeah,
and all this kind of stuff. And it was very like impressive when we saw it, and then it kind of just maintained that hype for me when it came out. I just really enjoyed that. I really liked the story. If I remember correctly, I really liked how like your headquarters changes as you play through. And it's in like this mansion, like or
yep,
this like villa or whatever. I really like that aspect too. So there's a lot about it I like. Um, but yeah, and then I mean any of the Ezio stuff is good, but I think two really nailed the controls and how the gameplay like over one. I mean I loved one as well, but it's hard to get back in the time machine. So I'm
yeah,
curious about the remasters, like how much better can they feel versus or how much better can they look, because
yeah.
they can only do so much.
Well, yeah, and like this game is not a looker,
Right.
and part of it too, though, is my television. I really need to replace my TV, because the HDR on my TV is not great, and this game, like, it really has been very challenging to um, lock in a level of brightness that works, so I can actually read everything, but also doesn't like wash things out. And it's just tough because again, my HDR is not amazing, and there's big chunks of this game that happen in the winter. So you have this bright snow everywhere, and it gets a little tough sometimes. So I do think you probably would still enjoy it if you went back to it, because the gameplay actually I'm enjoying a lot. The gameplay is fallen back into really easily. The harder things of it have definitely been just the change in, getting a ton of gear, upgrading all your gear, and like going, all of that stuff. I
Yeah.
also forgot that, and maybe it's this game and it'll open up more. Like for the most part, the game is, at least I'm like I said, I'm like 6 hours in. I actually just got the hidden blades. Like that's how long it's taken
Okay.
me.
Yeah.
But so far it really hasn't opened up very much. Like it pretty much is like main story quest, main story quest,
Yeah.
main story quest. Like you can run around and like pick up the flyer and like to kind of do that typical stuff, but there's not much else like in the open, quote unquote, open world to go do right now. Maybe that'll change, maybe it won't. I don't really remember, but yeah, the only other thing that's kind of annoying is the AI of the enemy.
Sure.
Just because there are times where it's like, you're supposed to like escort this person, but like not get seen. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna run right between these people because they're set, these guards that are sitting on opposite sidewalks, basically. And they just don't see me, right? Like, where you're like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. And other times you're like, I was way over there. Like, how did you even know that I
Someone
was,
spotted you. Yeah.
yeah. So those sorts of things are kind of the annoying things, but the actual playing of it is pretty great, from a control standpoint, from a combat standpoint. The only other thing that's slightly annoying, uh, and this is more like humorous than anything, is obviously you're using like like old guns.
Yeah.
So anytime you shoot, when you reload, it takes forever. So you're like walking around like while you reload to like try to avoid the shots from the enemy persons who then stop and have to like reload really slowly. So like that part's kind of humorous. But other
Yeah.
than that, like literally there was one time where I was like, you're packing the stuff in there and I'm like I'm like slowly walking to like get behind this cart. So hopefully like I can use that as cover. Like as I'm like packing the stuff in. It's just, yeah. But anyway, so yeah, Assassin's Creed 3, and then I am continuing to play kind of from time to time. Still playing Borderlands 3, still booting it up. I actually was on sale, so I actually bought all the DLC for it.
Oh boy. Wow.
So we'll see if I actually play it. But and then EA Sports College Football, I'm still playing. It's really amazing to me the how many like people who are playing this game a lot. They have a lot of concerns with a lot of parts of the game. But I don't know. I'm having fun.
That's all that
I'm
matters.
not serious enough about the game to see all of the problems, though there are things that very clearly that sometimes the blocking is just horrendous, and you're like, how, or the tackling sometimes is pretty suspect. There are things that happen. We're like, but also I'm not so serious about it. I'm not playing I'm not playing the game enough where I'm trying to get like really good at it. So it really is like impacting my ability to have a good time. Right. Whereas I'm sure if you play it, it's at a very high level that some of these things would be annoying. For me, I am just, running out there having fun with my dynasty. If I win, great. If I don't win, that's fine. Still having absolutely ridiculous. Like I had set like a goal of basically scoring a touchdown in basically like every way possible. And I finally, this morning, actually got a punt block return for a touchdown. So I was like, I finally got this. I literally have been like playing entire games just focusing on trying to get like a punt blocked. And it was my first punt block for the whole time. And I was able to scoop and score. The last game, my defense actually scored 3 times. So I was like, yeah, my offense was horrible, but my defense scored 3 times. And usually my defense is usually horrible. And usually my offense is fine. So I was like, well, that's a weird flip. But anyway, so still playing that. We'll still continue to play that. The other annoying thing I will say about this though is, hey, EA, I don't want to buy Madden. So every time I boot into EA Sports College Football, if you could not have an ad encouraging me to buy Madden, I would really appreciate it, because I'm not going to do it. So just stop. At literally every time there's an ad that you have to like back out of, and it's super annoying. All right, Josh, that rant's over. Let's talk a little bit about some board game news, unless there's anything else gaming wise. Oh, one other exciting thing. Wow. See, now that you mentioned how often you are saying I'm hearing myself say it.
I know, right? Well, we're just stuck with it.
I am having, in the month of September, I am taking a quote unquote staycation, for taking a couple days off during the week, and then a weekend that is meant to be all board games.
Nice.
So I'm very excited that, come our September episode, I will hopefully have a boatload of board games to talk about, including things like Pagan, The Fate of Roanoke, and Sky Team, and some other cool things. So
nice.
I'm pretty stoked about that. But with that, let's talk a little bit about some board game news. Josh, to start with, uh, Gen Con celebrates a record 71,000 attendance after event sells out before the start of the show. So this
Yikes.
is from the Board Game Wire, and Mike, did he miss True over there? North America's giant tabletop gaming convention, Gen Con, has broken new ground again after a record 71,000 people flocked to Indianapolis for this year's events. The long-running convention's biggest ever crowd also heralded the show being fully sold before the show even began, with no walk-up badges available across the 4 days of the event. More than 540 exhibitors ran booths this year, down on the over 570 recorded in 2023. Gen Con did not respond to questions from Board Game Wire about whether this heralded a true shrinkage in exhibitors or whether it was a factor of some publishers commanding larger booths than last year. Publishers Board Game Wire spoke with after the event were universally positive about their sales performance and overall experience at Gen Con this year, but opinions were mixed on whether it was possible for the event to grow much larger and whether the show was currently capable of handling the logistics of its existing numbers. Robert DiMaggio, direction of production at Ares Games, said that although his overall impressions of the 2024 event were great and sales were excellent, he believed issues were apparent in logistics and organizational challenges at the convention. He said Gen Con's exclusive logistics supplier, Fern Expo, seemed so overloaded with work that we had to wait many hours before we got our material for the booth, both when setting up Sunday and when dismantling. So they go on from there talking about the logistics, kind of all of that good stuff. So we don't need to get more into that. But Josh, Gen Con, 71,000 people, tickets completely sold out. What are your reactions?
That's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people.
I want to go to Gen Con, but I don't want to go to that Gen Con.
Yeah.
I watched some Dice Tower. Well, I watched all the Dice Tower vlogs from there, and you just like it was brutal to watch them try to walk down aisles. And like you're at a board game convention, this is where you want to like talk to people and check out board games and stuff. And this just kind of makes it seem almost impossible to do on some of the vlogs I watched. Um, I'm trying to. I don't know. I think like PAX Unplugged was like 35,000 people.
Mm.
And that was selling out for the first year that they did it. So imagining that number doubled for every day, that would be an uncomfortable convention, especially like if you're traveling, making multiple days out of it. I would kind of be bummed. I think I wouldn't want to fly all the way out to Indianapolis and be gone for probably half a week or a week and be stuck in that every day. But it's still on the list. Maybe if there's a dip in attendance, I'll can still consider going.
Yeah.
Or if they remodel it or figure out what they're going to do. Maybe limit how many people they let in and just do, I don't know, 60,000 people. I don't know. And they're not going to turn down money, but if not as many people go next year, that's a sign from the crowd that it was too much for them too.
Right. I do think.
Imagine trying to get a board game that there's only 100 copies of.
Yeah.
Like, forget about it.
Yeah. And that is, the bizarre in some ways thing about Gen Con is, a lot of new games are released there or demoed there or shown for the first time there. And some of those games that are quote unquote released will have 50 to 100 copies like each day of the show for sale. Not
Yeah.
it. So you are competing against, this huge swath of people who are all trying to go, like literally running, which they're not supposed to do, but people do, to those booths to be first in line so they can get one of the 50 games, assuming that they hadn't sold them to like other,
I was going to say,
working
they usually sell them to people working it first anyways.
Yep. So it would be kind of cool though, because, the convention is so big that they do play games and, have space in Lucas Oil Stadium where the Colts play. Like the whole floor of the stadium is set up with board game tables and like all this other stuff, and then obviously most of the quote unquote halls are over at the convention center. But, it's a big deal. Like Gen Con obviously is huge. I'm sure Indianapolis loves having it there. The thing that still blows my mind though, Josh, 71,000 people. You're like, that's a ton. It's still half as big as Essen.
Yeah, that's crazy. But like, I'm trying to picture 71,000 people in Indianapolis, like
Right?
for work days too. Like,
Right.
there's days people are trying just to get to work. Uh, that's gonna be rough.
Yeah.
Like with the Olympics being in LA in 4 years,
Yep.
like I can't even imagine what that's gonna be like.
Right. When the traffic's already a nightmare,
It's
as
gonna
I
be
just
awful.
experienced, you know, like, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I have to assume that, you know, if 71,000 is kind of the quote unquote sold number, unless they change something, I have to imagine next year that it can't really be bigger than that. Unless, like I said, unless they change something or set something else up. It did see, you mentioned, you know, the Dice Tower vlogs. There's a ton of vlogs you can watch from people who were there and kind of show behind the scenes stuff. It did seem, you know, kind of talking about the logistics piece, that there were many people just like sitting around and waiting for their booth stuff so
Yeah,
they could start setting up, right? So and maybe that moves, you know, set up back a day, so it's like a 2 or 3 day setup, you know, so that they have the time to get everything done. But then obviously that's added expense for everyone, because that's more nights in hotels, that's more food, that's more everything. It just becomes a more expensive proposition, though I have to imagine that those booths and that time is already very, very expensive as is. So kind of wild to think, Josh, that, you know, this article talks about the first ever Gen Con. You know, and one of the reasons Gen Con is so big is that it was created by Gary Gygax, who's the co-creator of Dungeons and Dragons.
yeah.
And the first event was held in Wisconsin, for less than 100 people. You know, so now here we are, you know, from 1967 to you know, 2024, going from 100 people to over 71,000. So congrats to Gen Con. It's also on my bucket list. I don't know that it's ever going to happen, but we'll see. So, all right, Josh. So this next story, I don't know how much our listeners are going to care about this, but I think it's really interesting. And we've actually kind of referred to this in the past, but I just thought it was interesting that a website actually wrote about this. So Tabletop Gaming News, which is a site I do go to. I don't use all that often, like actually on the show. But Daniel Lorenston, who runs that site, posted an article back on August 6th, say the internet is dying and so is tabletopgamingnews.com. And basically goes through, and this is something we've talked about, how finding tabletop news on the internet is virtually impossible today. That, you know, Dicebreaker, when it was purchased by IGN's parent company, Dicebreaker basically got shut down. So Dicebreaker kind of was the big quote unquote news site. But since then, like, there's been a whole bunch of other smaller sites, like Dice Tower News technically exists, but it definitely doesn't have everything. Tabletop Gaming News, Board Game Wire, there's these sites that try to put the ICV2, that try to put these news together, but it's just so hard to find the news. And it made me wonder, like, I've just been wondering, like, why is that? Like, why suddenly is getting this news become so challenging? And like I said, Daniel went and kind of wrote an article about this, about how, you know, their website back in the day, which wasn't all that long ago, used to average like 15,000 daily visitors, right? And now they're down to a few hundred daily visitors on their site. And that he now, like, he used to like hire people to like write for the site and all this stuff. And he's like, transparently, he's like, I use AI to write a ton of my articles and then I fact check them and then publish them. He's like, because like I can't even support myself doing this anymore. He's like, I have a job that I do this at night, and that's the only way I can do it. And he's like, and I know some people are probably gonna be upset that I use AI to do it. He's like, but I don't have a choice. It's the only way I can make it happen. And then he lists, like, you know, other sites you can go to for tabletop news. The ones that are successful, almost all exclusively RPGs.
Oh,
Tabletop
really?
RPG. Yeah. Like board game stuff is so hard to come by. And part of it, like, it's so hard to find board game news, Josh, that, you know, at Gen Con, the Dice Tower announced the winners of their best of for their 17th annual Dice Tower Awards, so the best games of 2023.
Yeah,
You cannot find it on the winners,
yeah,
a list of the winners written anywhere. I literally had to print off the list of nominees and then scrub through the video to find them all, because it's not
yikes.
written down anywhere, because no one covers board game news really anymore. So it does make me kind of wonder, like, what we're going to do for like these things moving forward, like, because it's becoming so hard to find, other than like, hey, this board game was announced on Kickstarter. Like, that's it. Like, that's the only
Yeah.
stuff that really exists. So Josh, what do you think? What do you think this signals for board games? Is this like a warning is this the iceberg is melting? Is this the, that quote unquote bubble that everyone talked about is popping? Is it just that board game industry news isn't that interesting? Because it clearly used to be.
Right.
So what's happening, Josh? Where's all our board game news going?
I don't know. My first thought was that maybe it's just harder to report on board games.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they don't want to put the effort into it. Maybe it's these companies like IGN's and Kotaku's who are trying to. Maybe it's just not sustainable as its own thing. So maybe it has to be like moved into a group of just gaming. Because even with us, like we've certainly done board game reviews
Mm-hmm.
for provided copies, but it's not always easy to get those, and they make you jump through a lot of hoops now versus before. And if you want to review a video game, you need like an Elgato or even just Twitch or like a capture device, and they'll just send you a digital code. For a board game, they got to ship it. It costs money because sometimes they're big, sometimes they're small, sometimes they want to send you multiples at a time because shipping is expensive. It's a physical product that sometimes they want you to ship back, so people are less likely to want to review or report on a game. Um, and you kind of have to rely on that convention life to get news. If you're trying to get breaking news on board games, it's either secondhand news that you're re-reporting or you're at a convention or a meeting or meet up, and you kind of have to really be industry to get that stuff, at least consistently. Like we certainly have gotten some things, but I couldn't just drop a line to Yellow now and get board games right now. Um, it's not as simple. Like even with like Renegade, we still get like the emails from them, and I'll occasionally look at maybe like, hey, let's try to get that Robo Rally Transformers, see if we can review it. And it's like, okay, thanks for your interest. Please send us your YouTube link. Please send us this, and please send us how many followers you have, and and all that to me is like, hey, okay, this is a threshold to if they're even going to read the rest of the email.
Right.
Okay, board of the VG, like there they have like 53 followers on X. We're like, we're not even using it, so I'm not
Mm-hmm.
gonna put it on there. So I think it might just be harder to report on, or maybe you can't get reporters who are interested in it, and it makes the reporting less entertaining if you're listening to someone review something they're not interested in.
Right.
It could be any of those things, but I'm not really sure. It's kind of sad for us to like sit here and constantly talk about like board game reporting going down, websites closing, all these kinds of things, because I thought board games are growing, but it seems like it's just hobby board, not hobby board games. It seems like it's mass market board games are growing again. So you walk into Target now I'll give them some credit. Like they have a ton of new games that I wasn't expecting
Mm-hmm.
to see in Target, but also they have now, you know, you go to their casual family game section, there's like 200 different games.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
then in
Right.
a week they're on clearance for $5. So there's definitely oversaturation on that.
Yeah. I think I also don't always realize how niche the board game market really is. Right. Like I think of it as being this huge, massive thing, and it just really isn't.
Yeah.
Like this is always what's really weird to me when you look at the number of subscribers. Like the Dice Tower pretty much is the biggest. It's the quote unquote biggest like board game like website slash YouTube whatever, right? They have like 340,000 subscribers, which is nothing,
Let
right?
me
Like
check. What does Shut Up and Sit Down have?
they might have us. They actually might have slightly more. They might be over 400 for Shut Up and Sit Down.
I just feel like they're 432K.
Yeah,
I just think that they're more, how you talk about how like Dice Tower feels a little different now.
yeah,
I think that Shut Up and Sit Down has always been like, it's like watching your friend who you play board games with talk to you about board games.
right.
They're very like down to earth, like common man, Not
Right.
no offense intended, because I'm a common man too, but like I can relate to how they talk about stuff.
Right. Their the Dice Tower, like a good video for them like recently is like 20,000 views, right? Most of their videos have 3-4,000, right?
Yeah.
Games for Two, I think, might be actually the biggest like board game quote unquote channel technically on YouTube by subscribers, because they have like almost 2 million
Oh
subscribers, but
wow.
their
Okay.
videos get like 2,000 views. So I like don't totally know what's going on with the algorithm there. Um, so that's a bit of an odd one. But I just think about then, I'm trying to think of a random. Let me just look up something random here. Okay, that was a bad example. I shouldn't have picked that. Random cooking YouTuber. Okay, Brian Lagerstrom, 1.4 million subscribers. His most recent video, which came out 3 days ago, already has 120,000 views. Right? Like,
How did you not go to Babish first? That's the one you got to go to.
I like Babish. I actually prefer Brian
10.2
Lagerstrom.
million for Babish.
I know, right? But like, it's just such a thing of like, it's such a weird. I don't know. It's just such an interesting situation of like how big the board game industry really is, and that there probably isn't enough interest in the news of the hobby to sustain. And transparently, like I said, the reason it makes it I care about this, and like I said, our listeners are probably like, oh my gosh, move on. But the reason this is like a big deal to me is like it's getting so hard to find like reasonable board game news to cover that isn't literally just like press releases of announcements of games. And honestly, I feel this is happening in video games to a degree as well. If you go to like the biggest sites, if you go to like IGN and Games Radar, half of the stuff isn't even about video games, half their news. And the
Yeah.
things that are like stupid clickbaity, like stuff no one should care about.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's anyway, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. But hey,
It's okay. I get it.
when we alluded to potentially, future changes to the podcast, this is part of it, right? It's getting so hard to get the information. And so I think we got to figure out like what we want to do as far as that goes. But anyway, let's talk about something that is fun though, Josh. And that is Asmodee is teaming up with Lego to make board games. How exciting is this? Again, from the fine folks over at Board Game Wire. Board game giant Asmodee has inked a partnership deal with Lego to launch a dedicated design studio focused on creating new Lego board games. Denmark-based Dotted Games will nurture and develop all games within the Lego Group and Asmodee's partnership. A statement from the pair said, starting with a family-weight party game, Brick Like This. The move marks a resurrection of Lego's push into board game sector, with the company having created a string of buildable board games in its Lego game series between 2009 and 2013. Reiner Knizia was a consultant on the previous project and also guest designed Lunar Command and Ramses Pyramid alongside Lego Games lead designer Cephas Howard. Lego heralded its return to the board game space earlier this year with the unveiling of Monkey Palace, a light strategy game tasking players with building longer and taller staircases of Lego to pick up extra bricks and points. The family weight game from designers David Gordon and Tin Ong Myong is set to be available to buy following its debut at Essen Spiel in October. Josh, what are your thoughts on Lego board games returning? A, were you aware of the previous ones? B, what do you think about, the future of this option?
A is right. I was going to say I had no idea they even made board games before, and then looking them up, and well, they're very expensive, obviously now. But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I had no idea that they made that they made that. I was actually just looking at. We were in the Lego store yesterday, and they had built the Lego chessboard.
Oh yeah,
in the store, and my son's getting like interested in chess,
mm-hmm.
so. That was really cool, and it comes with checkers pieces too. But then it's $75 for a Lego chessboard,
Right. Yep.
which is smaller than a regular size chessboard. And like it still has the right amount of squares, but it's just small. So that's the problem. So I do worry about board game prices for Legos. Like, what are they going to charge for this Monkey Palace? But I'm very interested, and I love that this is a thing. It's definitely something that will get my son more interested in board games. I'm like fortunate enough that he is interested in board games, but could also see this being a gateway for some board game parents who have kids who don't like board games yet, but do like Lego. Or vice versa. You could turn a board game fan into a Lego builder. So I think it's great. I think it's really cool. I think that it's like kind of a little cute looking game here, the Monkey Palace one. Looks a little small, but that's fine. I'll be curious to see how it plays.
Yeah, I think this is really neat. Lego is getting pretty creative with the different places they're going, and the different things they're doing recently with Legos. And like you mentioned, they're getting really expensive for what they are. I also obviously, in the last year have gotten back into Legos pretty hardcore, and have been, regularly trying to split my time between, school and games and Lego and reading and all these other things. So it's a good time. I'm very interested in Monkey Palace and kind of seeing where this goes in the future. I don't anticipate any of these games are probably going to be, super like blow my mind, but hopefully, if nothing else, they could be a fun activity. So I'll keep my eye on them, see what they are for I'm, like you said, curious about the price. But yeah, I think this is neat. We'll see where it goes. Because I do like many Lego things, so we'll see what happens there. All right, Josh, let's talk about our bigger board game topic this week, which is the 17th Annual Dice Tower Awards were announced, which covers, what are their best games of 2023. So let's talk about what won, how things went. Like I said, I literally had to go back through the video and scrub through and write down all the winners because you can't find the list anywhere of what actually won. So I have a list here, Josh. I don't know if did you watch the video of the presentation?
I did not. I started watching a little bit of it, but I didn't watch the whole thing.
Okay, so some of this will be a surprise to you then as well.
Yes.
Awesome.
Well, there's a list on IGN.
Oh, is there on IGN? Okay.
No, it's the Dice Awards.
I was saying, because what I was looking for was just the Dice Awards, not the Dice Tower Awards. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like I probably don't know any of them, although I could probably guess who won a certain game.
We'll find out. Here we go then. Look, it's actual real paper.
Look at that.
Yeah, I'm excited because I'm an adult with a
printer. You spend money on that.
I know. I printed actual paper. Okay, Josh. So we'll just go in the order that they're listed here. This is not some super special order, I guess. But first, best welcoming game. The nominees were Dice Manor, Fiction, Nar, Robot Quest Arena, and Wandering Towers. I know we talked about obviously these previously about all the nominees, so we're not going to go through and talk about all of them. But what do you think won? Without looking, Josh, without typing and looking.
I can't look. Everything that comes up is Dice Awards.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe Kyle missed something. I don't know. I don't know.
The winner was Wandering Towers.
What? I don't even know what that is.
Designed by Michael Kiesling and Wolfgang Kramer, published by Capstone Games. I do adore Capstone Games. This is a game that's been on my list to get, but I have not yet. I think it's something about like being a giant looking for like beans in a tower or something, if I recall. Something like that. Anyway, it looks really cool though. Has some neat table presence. Pretty affordable game as well. So I think probably a good fit from a welcoming game perspective. Good table, like I said, good table presence. Really colorful and pretty affordable. So, best artwork. The nominees were Dixit Disney Edition, Kinfire Chronicles, Lorcana, Septima, and Sleeping Gods: Distant Skies. What do you think won there, Josh?
Was it Lorcana?
It was Lorcana. It seems a little unfair. But yes, Lorcana was the winner for best artwork. Most innovative game. The nominees were Books of Time, Earthborn Rangers, Kutna Hora, Noobs in Space, and Sky Team. So Josh, what was the most innovative game?
It's got to be Sky Team, right?
You are correct. It was Sky Team. Look at you. 2 out of 3 so far. Nicely done. Nicely done. You're crushing it. All right, Josh. Best reprint. Castles of Burgundy, Lagrange, Ra, Santa's Workshop, or Zuvadis.
Castles of Burgundy.
You're crushing it, Josh. 3 for 4. Nailed it. Absolutely. Best strategy game. Darwin's Journey, Distilled, Earth, Forest Shuffle, or The White Castle. Josh, like, why did they even have people vote on this? They just should have had you do it. That is correct.
I'm just guessing the popular games.
Best strategy game. Okay, well, best board game production. Castles of Burgundy, Distilled, Raw, Thunder Road Vendetta, or World Wonders.
I mean, Castle. It's going to be Castles of Burgundy, right? I think it could be Thunder Road. That'd be cool, but it's probably Castles of Burgundy,
It
right?
was Castles of Burgundy.
Yeah.
Correct, Josh. Correct. All right, this one might be a little bit more challenging. We'll see what happens here. Best game from a small publisher: Distilled, Earthborn Rangers, For Northwood, Lunar Rush, or Raising Robots.
It's what was that? The Earthborn Rangers. That's what I would guess.
Ooh, the winner was Distilled.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes, people. Yeah, still people seem to really be liking it as of late. So, and actually, they're I believe because it's designed by Dave Beck, but published by Paverson Games. I believe Paverson's Games. They're the ones who recently had Luthier on
Oh,
Kickstarter.
yeah.
I think they're based in Wisconsin, actually, if I recall correctly. All right, best cooperative game. The nominees were
Sky Team.
Sky Team is correct. Nice job. Best 2-player game.
Sky Team.
That is correct. Sky Team won best 2-player game as well. Nice job. Nice job. All right. Best game from a new designer. Apiary, Distilled, Forest Shuffle, Hegemony, or Last Light.
I feel like Hegemony gets a lot of talk, but it's probably going to be Distilled, right?
Ooh, it was actually Last Light, which caused a little bit of consternation with some people because
Isn't that a Roy Kennedy game?
Yeah. So, the Dice Tower Awards. And
they shouldn't have given them that. Yeah. They didn't need to do that.
Yeah. And granted, the Dice Tower Awards are voted on by like 50 people. So it's not,
Yeah, but how many people of them work for the Dice Tower?
Yeah. And I will say, though, I have heard that Last Light is exceptional.
Oh, it's probably really good, yeah.
So, best party game. Among Cultists, Blob Party, Fiction, Nekojima, or That's Not a Hat.
That's not a hat.
Blob Party. Yeah. All right. You're doing overall, though, pretty well. We've kind of fallen off the tracks a little bit.
Probably 50-50. So not good, not bad.
Best theme. Age of Comics, Distilled, Sky Team, The Fox Experiment, or Thunder Road Vendetta.
It's going to be Sky Team, but it probably should be anything else other than that.
Here, I'll give you a hint. It is not Sky Team.
Wow. So would they have let it be Thunder Road Vendetta?
It is Thunder Road Vendetta.
Okay.
That is the winner. Nice. All right. Best solo game. 20 Strong, For Northwood, Kinfire Delve, Legacy of You, or Sleeping Gods Distant Skies.
You said that one before For Northwood a couple times, right? In other categories?
For Northwood, I think it's been in one or two other categories, yeah.
I'll go with that one. I have no idea about any of these games.
Yeah, it was Legacy of You, which, had you known, is designed by Shem Phillips, published by Garfield Games, the same people who did like all
you told me that when we talked about the nominees. I just was like, is it really that?
It really was that. That's what won. Yeah. All right, Josh, here's the one then. Game of the Year.
Sky Team.
No.
Earth.
Correct. Okay. Earth won Game of the Year. That is right. So, Josh, here's my question for you to make this a bit of a discussion. Obviously, all very good games that were nominated. Earth, a game I love. Sky Team, a game I have that I'll be able to talk about next month. But overall, like a ton of games that are well known, people love. Obviously, we talked about the Spiel des Jahres last month, and Sky Team won the Spiel des Jahres, as did,
that other game,
the co-op game. Anyway, that doesn't matter. What are your thoughts on board game awards in general? Like, is this the best way to do them? Like, kind of the, because so many people do them. The Dice Tower does them. Board Game Geek does them. There's the North American Board Game Awards, the Spiel des Jahres. Like, everything's always around, like, best game. Like, is this the best way to do this? Should there be other things we should be thinking about? Is this too many categories? Is this not enough categories? What are your thoughts on, just this idea of board game awards?
I think it's too many categories with the potential to add more categories, because you could really break it down by best artist, best, like, I don't know, whatever. But I don't know. It's tricky. I think it's fine the way it is. I think that having them at conventions makes the most sense. I think that the convention should be able to decide what categories of awards. I don't know that there has to be a universal like set like the Academy Awards. Like I don't know that it has to be the same awards every year for it to matter. I think it's just a matter of what the award is, and then we decide, if that matters or not. And there's always like board games cover so much, right? So there's always going to be things people aren't interested in. Like we don't necessarily care about best solo game, just like we don't necessarily care about best streamer at the video game awards, just like
Right.
we probably don't care about costume design at the Oscars. Like I don't, but I mean, I know people do, right? So you
Right.
have these niche categories too. I think it's fine as long as you're not going nuts and having like a game awards night where it's 4 hours but no awards, or 4 hours and all awards. Like that's something that the audience will decide, but ultimately you don't want to go like when you don't want to go sit for 3 hours in a panel for board game awards. I don't think, when you could be playing board games
Right.
or doing other things.
So, if you do you watch the Oscars each year?
I used to every
Okay.
year. It's changed recently, but so has the Academy. So
Yeah.
that's
So,
kind of why.
so do you when you find out that a movie wins the best picture,
Yes,
that increase your interest in the movie?
100%. Yeah.
Okay. When a video game wins Game of the Year at the Game Awards, does that increase your interest in the video game?
No, because I've probably already either played it or decided I don't want to play it.
Okay. So when a board game wins, in this case, let's just use, since obviously we both are aware of Earth, let's talk about like Wandering Towers, one best welcoming game. Are you now more interested in that game than you were previously?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you think is the difference then between like when awards make you more interested in something versus when they don't?
I think there's a level of inaccessibility to board games when
Hmm.
compared to video games. So that's really it for me, I think.
Okay.
Now, uh, I can, you can digitally download a game and return it if you don't like it within 24 hours. Now,
True.
I don't typically do that. In fact, I think I've done it once, and it was because Outriders was then announced for Game Pass after I had
Oh,
already
yep.
pre-ordered it. Um, for board games, it's different. So when I have a board game, it used to be before I'm still there, but like before when I have so many board games, right? It used to be a collect them all kind of thing. It's not quite as easy to do as video games. I can have 150 Xbox games and they fit in a box.
Right.
I cannot have 150 board games and fit them in a box. In fact, I can't even fit them in a room and a shelf.
Right.
And I have quadruple that. So now where I'm at is I'm trying to make better decisions about games as is. This is a game I should either play or want to play. So when I look at an awards like a Dice Tower or Essen, where I can track the style of game to a reviewer that I like who might feel the same way, I go, okay, Sky Team is a co-op game. I had no idea it existed 3 months ago. It just won all these awards. Yeah, the next time I'm looking for a two-player game, I want to add something quality to my collection because it might be a while till I play it. And also, it's not going to be $1 like a video game might be in 6 months.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
most likely going to be the same price, uh, unless you find it on clearance. It's not like you paid $60 for a game and in 2 weeks it's on Game Pass, or in a month it's $30 on sale. That's tough too about that aspect. So I think that's more of a longer term investment in the board game as well. So I just have a hard time um, grasping at how easy and how difficult it is to get those into your hands. Where you could walk in, like I said, into a Target and you could see 200 board games / party games on a shelf, and now like I can go to Dice Tower. I can call Kyle and be like, hey, you still have that printout of the Dice Tower award winners? Because I can't
Right.
find who won, but I want to know what game to get. Like I feel like word of mouth is harder to find in the board game world, unless you're like on Reddit, I guess. But half of Reddit comments are hurtful, hateful, spiteful things.
Yeah.
So I don't even like to read most threads. Like I saw someone ask a legitimate question, and someone replied saying, this question, I went through the proper channels to ask this question, and I just had to search to find the answer instead of spamming a
Yeah.
message board. I'm like, the guy asked one question. He's not like, nobody's helpful on Reddit until somebody's helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you. And I agree that when it comes to games too, right? Like board games, they go out of print. And yes, like video games in theory, old games can be harder, but for most modern games, right? Like I can just go buy it and download it whenever I want to.
Yeah.
Right. It's not, if you try to go buy Sky Team right now, you can get it on Amazon through the Scorpion Mask store. But you're not going to get it for like 3 weeks because it's coming from Canada. Right.
Yeah.
But if you go to Hachette's site, they're sold out. Right. And they're like, there's a notify me when it's going to be back in stock. And it's just different. So, no, I was just curious because as I think about, especially, looking ahead to December and when we talk about like our favorites of the year and like kind of just think about like what's the best way to do that. Is it, should it be about the game? Should it be about moments? Like, what should it really be about? And just kind of think about that. So, hey, thanks for indulging me on that conversation.
Sure.
All right, Josh, let's, hit some video game news here, but it'll be pretty brief and then we'll just jump into our topic, which will be the bulk of what we're going to talk about. Oh shoot, I just realized I totally closed the window for that thing. That's fine, I'll get it back. Josh, very sad news. I was complaining earlier about how hard board game news is to find. Well, video game news is also not going to be harder to find, as Game Informer was shut down after 33 years by parent company GameStop. Josh, thoughts on Game Informer? Were you a regular? Did you ever subscribe? Thoughts on Game Informer shutting down?
I have subscribed in the past, sure. I mean, most people with the GameStop membership at some point in their life had Game Informer. I stopped reading it when GameStop messed up 2 years straight in a row and did not send me my physical copy, signed me up for digital. And then when I tried to get it changed, I was stuck in a worldwide web of help pages where nobody would ever help me get my physical subscription back. So I kind of dropped off maybe a year ago on getting the Game Informers and reading them.
Mm-hmm.
But I always enjoyed it. It was always one of those things I looked forward to getting. It was still like a mail magazine when they stopped doing mailed magazines.
Right.
And it was nice to I felt like the reporting was always good. It reminded me of the old IGN days and old PC Gamer days. I enjoyed most of the in-depth coverage they got. It always struck me as like a higher mark of standard than GameStop is.
Mm-hmm.
So I always enjoyed that about that. So yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah, I agree. It's a bummer. For me, it's just, we're getting fewer and fewer sites that are, quote unquote, big covering video game news. And like I mentioned before, if you go to, your IGMs and your Game Spots and Games Radar and any of those, it's getting so hard to parse out like what is actually meaningful news.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting more and more down to enthusiast press focusing on personalities. You find the personalities you like and have to rely on them to tell you, what's going on, which can have its benefits, right? You can, more easily support small groups of people or an individual person to get your news and information. But it also means that you have a much more narrow scope on what you're on the perspective you're getting, right? It would just be like listening to just our opinion on things, right? Hopefully we're having broader opinions than just hearing it from one person. So, just like video games are continuing to consolidate, game sites are continuing to consolidate. And I think in the end, that's not going to be helpful. Maybe they'll be helpful for us. I don't know, but like, I don't want that. So, and as a Minnesota native too, it's just it's a bummer to me since Game Informer was based in Minnesota. It's kind of one of those odd, middle of Midwest gaming sites that just just seemed really out of weird that it was where it was. But anyway, so much love to Game Informer. I think really crappy how Game Stop did it in that, whole website gone, just like one like
Oh, really?
yeah, like if you go to their website, it's literally just like, hey, we're shut down. Like you can't access any of their old articles, like nothing. It's all just gone, which is a bummer. Speaking of bummers, Meta has shuttered its first party VR game studio, Ready at Dawn. Ready at Dawn, known from the VR Space for its Echo series, which was well loved. People thought they were excellent games. I have a strong affinity for them. They did some PSP games back in the day. They did Daxter and Chains of Olympus, Ghost of Sparta, like all that kind of good stuff on PSP back in the day. But also, that banger of a first party PS4 title, The Order 1886, was from the fine folks at Ready at Dawn. Josh, thoughts on Meta shutting down another, well, not them shutting down another, which they have shut down others in the past, but just another video game developer,
Yeah.
getting shut down this year.
I mean, I don't think it's necessarily doom and gloom for VR, but I mean, it's a sign. It's a sign of the times. I think we had our VR boom, and I think people are either just done not buying new stuff. Like PS VR2 is an example of what's going on with that, and I hardly ever hear people talk about like the Valve Index and even the Quest 3. I haven't seen too much press wise for it compared to what it was like when the Quest 2 was out. I said it again. I think it's just going dormant, maybe like taking some time to itself until we figure out the next affordable, logical conclusion in gaming for VR. Because even the Quest 3 is pretty expensive. I think you're looking at like $500 for the base, like the low end model, maybe even more because it's like bundled with that game, Azure something's Wrath or something. Yeah, I haven't picked up my Quest 2 in like 6 months.
Yeah, and they're supposedly releasing a Quest 4 and a Quest 4 Pro next year.
Jeez, yeah, that's too much. They just released a Quest 3. It feels like I don't know when it came out.
Yeah,
Maybe last year.
And I appreciate what you're saying about like you don't think that VR is dead. I think obviously like PSVR 2 pretty much seems to be dead already.
Yeah.
Meta is losing money hand over fist. When it comes to their reality labs or whatever they call their VR initiatives. I think they lost 16 billion in 2023.
Jeez, that's insane.
Just that area. So yeah, and I think they said that by the end of this year, like Reality Labs or that will have lost something like $50 billion.
I can just what is
like,
that? What is that board meeting like? They're like, yeah, we're down 16 billion, 16.1 billion for the year, and like Zuckerberg's like, all right, just keep it. I was like, shut it down now. We're out of this business.
Yeah,
no more VR. But no, so there's someone's in that room going, okay, let's keep on going. 16 billion, we can handle it.
Yeah, well, because I think the numbers are, and I could look for it, but I'm not going to. But I think the numbers are this year. They feel like it's something like they feel like that it's already lost 8 to 10 billion this year.
That's insane.
So,
if the technology costs that much, wait until it doesn't.
I guess the thing for me is like, okay, so you're losing $8-10 billion, right? How much does shutting down Ready at Dawn really save you?
Right.
Like I can't imagine. Like I feel like that
penny.
has to be like, we're just scraping at the surface of that number with that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, rest in peace, Ready at Dawn. I think the Order 1886 to me is a game that gets short shrift. I think it's better than a lot of people said it was. Kind of like Rise, Son of Rome. Like I think that game was better than a lot of people said it was.
Oh sure. Yeah.
And I think that a sequel to the Order 1886, obviously owned by PlayStation, they can still do it if they wanted to, but I would love a sequel to that game. I think that there was a lot of really interesting things there, and to this day that game still looks bonkers good.
Yeah,
which is insane. So being not quite but darn close to a PS4 launch title. So
yeah.
but on the good news side, Crafton has stepped in to save Hi-Fi Rush studio Tango Gameworks. Crafton, who owns PUBG and the Callisto Protocol, announced on Monday that it had acquired the game and its Japanese studio and is working with Xbox to enable a smooth transition to ensure the Tango Gameworks team can continue developing the Hi-Fi Rush IP and explore future projects. I believe that they also, it was announced or came out later that they do also picked up Ghostwire Tokyo and The Evil Within
Nice.
IPs as well. I believe
Great.
that's true. So Josh, what were your thoughts hearing Tango being saved?
I mean, it's nice to see. It's obvious, like it's obviously smart save. I think when we talked about this at first, we were referencing like how shows like Brooklyn Nine-Nine get canceled on one network and then they come back on a different network. Very similar idea here. Just like, hey, we're done with these people, but if someone wants to buy them from us, come on in. Your money's good. So it's nice. I'm glad that the studio will continue to exist. That means more games like Hi-Fi Rush can continue to be made potentially. This doesn't mean anything more than they get to keep their jobs and IPs, but that doesn't mean that we're going to get those games. Just means there's a potential for that.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I'm happy that they get to keep working. I saw somewhere, and again, fact check this. I'm not promising this is 100% true, but I'm not trying to spread misinformation. But I think I saw that like roughly half the staff probably is who is gonna will have will.
Yeah, I saw a lot
around.
of people already found jobs. I saw that, so
yeah,
they
so
only were able to bring a certain amount of people in.
Yep. So I think roughly half the staff, it sounds like, would be transitioning to the new ownership and doing that good stuff. So
that would stink. Like you work for this company, you love this company, we'll say, and then you're forced to find a new job. You find a new job just to find out that company you loved, maybe your favorite company you ever worked for, is back, and they want to give you your job back, but you can't take it now. That would be a big bummer.
That would be a big bummer. So interested and excited to see what they do next, though. Obviously, they were doing some cool stuff. So I wonder if they'll do Hi-Fi Rush 2, if they'll do something horror. It'll be
Hi-Fi Rush 2, PlayStation exclusive.
So, all right. Well, Josh, let's talk about our big topic then for video games, and that is Opening Night Live. A little Jeff Keighley time. Was held in Germany last week with a 2-hour press conference. Obviously, Opening Night Live, part of Gamescom, which is the largest video game conference in the world. So Jeff Keighley got up on stage, did his thing for a couple hours with some, news, new game announcements, some updates on already known games, kind of all that good stuff. There was a 30-minute pre-show, as there always is. That had some fun, neat kind of announcements in there, but we're going to kind of skip all of that unless you have anything from the pre-show that you wanted to talk about.
Kyle, I did not watch this.
Have you seen none of it?
I haven't watched the show. I've certainly seen trailers. There might be some that pop up here that didn't show up in my feed that I missed, but I saw a lot of trailers updated on my feed. No spoilers for our talk, maybe, but I didn't watch too many trailers.
No, that's fine.
Based on my interest of what was shown to me.
Okay.
For available trailers.
Gotcha. So very, very briefly then, actually, there for me actually were a lot of neat things on the pre-show. One of the weird things is that like a whole bunch of the Diver crossovers were covered, including like Balatro and things like that.
Oh, really? There's a Balatro one too?
Yeah, which is super weird. So that was kind of interesting. Another trailer from the game Cairn was shown, which I think, rock climbing stuff is neat. I thought it was kind of telling that Sniper Elite Resistance was shown in the pre-show. I thought a Sniper Elite game a new Sniper Elite game I thought would.
So it's not Sniper Elite 6 or 7, whatever's next?
It is Sniper Elite Resistance.
Oh,
it is coming day one to Game Pass. I do know that.
Nice.
It runs in parallel, I think, to like Sniper Elite 5.
Okay.
I think. And then, so some platformers, some other neat things, and then Directive 8020, a Dark Pictures game, Josh.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, so that was also on the pre-show. So Supermassive's return to the Dark Pictures series. It's coming out in 2025. Sci-fi horror game called Directive.
We gotta finish.
I know we have to finish the other one, whichever I can't remember what it's called.
The one with the home.
The Devil in Me.
Devil in Me, yeah.
Yeah. So But yeah, so that's coming. This will be coming out in next year. It takes place on a spacecraft, if I recall correctly.
Okay.
So yeah, it looks kind of like a Alien, The Thing type
Okay.
horror. So yeah, so we got that. That was some of the stuff in the pre-show. There was way more than that. But then we kicked off. Jeff Keighley got on stage, talked a little bit. I'll be honest, I was at work, so I did not watch this when it was live. I had it on in the background later while I was doing things at night. But the first thing, Josh, that we got is something you should be super stoked about as the number one Borderlands fan. Borderlands 4 got officially revealed and is coming out next year. Did you watch the Borderlands 4 trailer, Josh?
If you can call it a trailer, yeah, I did watch.
Teaser would probably be better.
Watch the teaser.
Yeah. A, did you watch it? B, what were your thoughts?
It was a cool teaser, I guess. I didn't finish 3, so I don't know if what's happening with this thing collapsing into
yes, it is a continuation
of
what happened at the end of 3.
Something. I don't know what is happening, but it looks cool. Oh, so do I have to play? Do I have to play?
You probably don't. I mean, do you really ever have to finish it? No, you probably don't have to.
But all right, yeah. I mean, it's we'll see. Show me what you changed. Show me what you improved on. Show me what you got rid of from 3. So maybe I'll be interested. Maybe I'm done with Borderlands. I don't know. Maybe
you are. Maybe I'm now the number one Borderlands fan on our podcast.
You might be. I hope you like the movie.
I have not watched it, nor do I have a desire to. I will say, Josh, the one thing that jumped out to me.
Yeah.
Did it look like they're still doing cell shading? Does it look like they're not doing cell shading? Do you think this was just a choice for the trailer?
I think it's just a choice for the trailer, but yeah, you're right. Okay. It wasn't cell shaded. It was proper. It was a different type of animation.
And I'm wondering
classic CGI.
Yeah,
animation.
I'm wondering if since it's not a new, since they're going to a new planet, maybe that's going to be the explanation as to why the game looks different.
That would be a way to change it up for. Oh wait, hold on. I'm looking at a still.
Does it still look cell shaded?
And it still looks cell shaded.
Oh, okay. Maybe not then.
No, it doesn't. Never mind. It's classy. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I'm intrigued about the hand. I'm sure that also happens in Borderlands 3.
I don't think so, because I think somebody had asked if this was like if Handsome Jack was back.
Oh, okay.
And Pitchford.
That's a lady's hands. It looks like
Pitchford said something about it's not. It's just it's someone much worse or something like that.
It has a long fingernail. Looks like a lady's hand.
So
but yeah, maybe that's the thing. Maybe they're going away from cell shading and trying to make it a modern looking shooter.
Yeah.
I don't know what that will do for that game.
I'd be okay with a shakeup of the formula if it's just the way it looks. I don't know if that's enough of a shakeup, but
right.
All right. So I mean, I obviously, apparently am the number one Borderlands fan on our podcast. So I'm sure so I'm looking forward to it. I want to see more. I'll say that.
Sure.
So then we got some more Call of Duty Black Ops 6.
Yeah.
How excited are you for Blops 6, Josh?
I'm marginally excited. I'll play it. It's going to be on Game Pass. I did download Modern Warfare 3. Mm-hmm. I haven't tried playing it because I have to play it when my son's asleep. So by that time, I'm already exhausted. So
gotcha.
But I do want to play that just to get the campaign done. I know it's short, so maybe I'll just kind of give myself 2 nights to knock it out in the future.
Perfect. Next we got Goat Simulator Remastered.
I watched this trailer with my son. It was a very weird trailer, but it was funny. I like it. It's very self-referential. Feels like what Saints Row felt like.
Yeah.
Very tongue-in-cheeky kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be playing it, but
yeah. I thought it was kind of odd, like how early it was in the show, but whatever. Yeah. Persona 3 Reload DLC. Any thoughts there?
No.
Okay. We got a new Dying Light game, kind of. It is a new standalone game.
Yeah.
But also, if you have if you have the season pass, it's included.
I like how it says Jeff has also confirmed it will have around 20 hours of stuff to do.
Yeah. Thanks, Zero Gamer. So, all right. So then we got some a Black Myth Wukong trailer.
Yeah.
And as we said, we are both slightly interested in that, but
certainly.
Maybe that'll be a on sale game. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Josh, do you want to spark some Zero?
I want to like these games. I really do. I played one on the 360 that I kind of had some fun with, but in the way like you have fun when you're playing a fighting game and you don't know what the heck you're doing, kind of fun,
Mm-hmm.
like button mash fun. Otherwise, yeah, it kind of is the most extreme of extreme.
Right.
It's too extreme for me,
Yeah. Hear you there.
but it's
Then we had
cool.
King of Meat.
Yeah, I stopped watching it pretty quickly when it kind of, I don't know, it kind of just looks like this isn't a bad thing. Like the Spyros and Crash Bandicoots of the day.
Right.
This is by the Pumpkin Jack team. Is that right?
Is it? I don't know.
I think what I did see a trailer for the people who made Pumpkin Jack. Maybe it wasn't this game, but
Yeah, because I think
it
this is
feels like
actually
it.
X Media Molecule people, maybe.
Oh, it's me. Okay,
I
all right.
think I could be wrong about that, but I thought it looked kind of interesting. It was. I think the title is funny. King of Meat.
Yes.
The name is funny. I thought it was a pretty good trailer. I don't know if I'll play it, but it was. I'm more interested than I anticipated I would be. Hence, the trailer did a good job, I guess. Then we had Linked Banner of the Spark.
I don't think I saw this one.
So this is from Fuzzy Bot, which is the studio that's like run by like Steven Spielberg's kid.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's like the hack and slash town building, like a whole bunch of stuff, like 4 different game
Oh,
genres
yeah,
put
that's
into one
weird.
game. Yeah. So we'll see.
Okay. Interesting.
Next was Don't Nod for Lost Records, which we knew about, but then it's Bloom and Rage, so it'll be kind of 2 releases. The first episode launches in February 2025. The second comes in March 2025. Josh, thoughts on Don't Nod? I'm assuming this is a pass for you.
I really like what they do.
Mm-hmm.
I think I never got into Life is Strange, so I think I missed the boat. I feel bad because I feel like these are made for me.
Yeah.
Just like The Walking Dead, Telltale games. And that same thing happened. I fell off the wagon with Telltale. I never finished season 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, I want to go back, but then you're kind of obligated. You kind of want to completion it.
Yep.
So you want to start from the beginning to continue that story. So I feel like I'm just too behind, but it looks really cool. And I really wanted to like that one, True Colors or whatever it was called.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to like that, but I just never got into it.
Gotcha.
You got to be excited about it though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I am. There obviously is a Life is Strange coming out this fall still, and then we have this Lost Records in the spring. I generally do like these games. It's just whether or not I'll have time for it more than anything. All right. Then we had a trailer for No More Room in Hell 2. If 8 play the Eurogamer thing says if 8-player permadeath co-op scares sounds like your idea of a good night in out, then have a gander at this trailer. I don't know if 8-player permadeath co-op sounds like fun to me.
No. No.
All right. Then we also had the re-reveal of Arc Raiders, which is from the studio behind the finals. This game was actually shown before we ever saw the finals. Made some big splashes, I think, at a Game Awards, I think is when it was first released. But
yeah,
looks like some pretty big changes potentially to it. Game's coming out next year. Going to be free to play. Thoughts on Arc Raiders?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't show anything. So I was like, when I saw that, I was like, I feel like I have seen this before.
Yeah.
But then but I don't really know what the game is from that trailer. It's just like CGI set piece trailer.
Yeah, it very much was a tone piece. I have heard multiple things about what the game is, and I don't know which ones are accurate, so I don't want to speculate. I've heard some people describe it as like a take on The Division.
Okay,
which would be cool.
That would be more. I'd be more interested in it then.
Yeah, but kind of like The Division, but like always having the dark zone. You know, like where you're always potentially running into other people. But I don't know. Then we had, what is maybe game of the year, a new trailer for Infinity Nikki, which was, first revealed, I believe, at Summer Game Fest. A nice little costume dress up RPG. Here's the thing. I know this probably is not in my wheelhouse. It's probably not in Josh's wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Their trailers are fun, though. Like, these are fun trailers. I'm sure that the people who are excited about this are probably very excited about this.
I played Final Fantasy Lightning Returns. I'm all in for the changing of dresses. I get it.
All right. Then we had Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2, which comes out in just a few weeks. This game has
Yeah.
been chewing up a lot of YouTube time for me recently. I'm getting a lot of videos pushed my way from my algorithms about this game, and I think you are pretty excited about this. Yes.
I am. I liked the first Space Marine, and from everything I can see, this looks to be taking it 10 notches higher. So I'm really interested in everything I've seen. Looks really good. I'm just so the Warhammer games have this thing where, and when I say this, it's going to make you think Gears, but think what like it's chonky
Mm-hmm.
controls, and I don't. And Space Marine itself, chonky controls. It feels harder
Right.
than Gears. More, it's not even Gears feels fast compared to Space Marine. So it's like a tone thing.
Yep.
Especially like if you're in the Warhammer universe and like you're playing Vermintide, totally different feel, faster, more frenetic. Space Marine is, from my experience, is slow, methodic, bloody. Like, and you have to be a little bit more like strategic about how you do things. I'm not. Some of the videos I've seen for Space Marine 2 make it look like that might not be the case, but I'm not sure how different it's going to be from my experience with part 1.
Yeah, it sounds like they're using a lot of the tech from World War Z.
Yeah, okay, I would be happy with that. That would make, because World War Z felt really good.
Yeah. So for as far as like the hordes of whatever you're fighting and all that good stuff. But I am more interested in this game than I ever thought I would be. I never thought this would be a game I'd be super interested in. I am more interested now because of everything I've seen, though my only concerns with it are, number one, there was going to be a beta, which they canceled because they said they needed the time to get the game ready to release. So they
Okay.
canceled the beta, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And then the initial preview that happened, that was for like the co-op campaign that they like literally sent to people and people have done videos on.
Yeah.
No one was able to connect. No one was able to
Oh
play co-op
no.
together. Like they could play it for like one mission and then they could just like never connect again. So the like all of the gameplay that like was very positive, right? About how you actually play with the game, how the game feels when you're playing it, all of that. But the connectivity was apparently atrocious. And we had talked about,
Yikes.
wanting to play it co-op. So that's my only concern with it really right now is, how good is that actually going to be? So next was Predecessor, which is basically the reworking of
Paragon. Right? I
Paragon.
was like,
Yep.
isn't this just Paragon?
It's mostly just Paragon because when, back in the day when Epic had both Fortnite and Paragon, but then Fortnite got huge, so they basically just ditched Paragon and released all the assets for free for anyone to use. Predecessor is what's come out of that. So,
I gotcha.
yep. So, not a MOBA person, so not really interested there. Path of Exile 2. Josh, you like these, action RPG Diablo-like games. What are your thoughts on Path of Exile 2?
I think it looks super cool. I never played. I shouldn't say I never played. I only briefly played Path of Exile. But yeah, I mean, it's Diablo's cousin, and it's fun. So I'm excited for part 2. It kind of makes me honestly want to reinstall Diablo 4 and actually get through the rest of it. I never finished it.
Yeah. I I really want to play Path of Exile 2. I played Path of Exile 1 for about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I booted it up, started playing it. I'm like, this is cool, running around, doing the things. And then it was time to start, assigning skill points to things. That I opened the
a map.
the skill tree, whatever you want to call it, and I was like so overwhelmed, I just quit the game and deleted it because I was like, I'm not doing.
It looks like a Ubisoft map when you're trying to do skills.
It's like a constellation marker of the skies. You're like, goodness gracious, how many nodes are there? So maybe if I got in right away, it would be a little less daunting. We then got some gameplay in theory of Dune Awakening.
Yeah.
The Dune MMO. Josh, you want to go hang out in Arrakis?
I do, but I see them. They're trying to trick me. This trailer is tricky. They want you to think this is Mass Effect, and it's more Ark than Mass Effect. It's still a survival game. They're trying to trick me into playing this game because they know I like Dune. It's not going to happen. Nice try.
But you get to make water from your enemy's blood. Isn't that fun?
Yeah, it absolutely would be super cool in an action adventure game.
Not a survival MMO? Okay.
No.
We then got a trailer of Reanimal from
Yeah.
Tarsier Studios, the folks who made Little Nightmares and Little Nightmares 2. Little Nightmares 3 obviously on the horizon, but being made by Supermassive. Thoughts on Reanimal? You like spooky stuff.
It looks super cool.
Agreed.
Very creepy.
Yeah.
Very obvious it was from the creators of Little Nightmares.
Yes.
Looks very
agreed.
similar.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm very interested. It looks very cool.
It does look cool. I actually realized I've never played Little Nightmares. I have Little Nightmares 1 and 2. I've just never played them. So
really?
Maybe that'll be an October task. So next we got a trailer for Genshin Impact update. Who knows, a bazillionth. But hey, it's coming to Xbox finally in November. Josh, is that going to get you to play Genshin Impact?
I did try playing it because I wanted to get Aloy and I just couldn't get into it far enough to get her.
Yeah. One of the games that I did play, but I left off the list of playing, was I actually booted up Zenless Zone Zero, their newest game from Hoyoverse. And I actually really enjoyed it. Like the act of playing the game, I really liked. Managing all of the stuff around it, though, I was like, nah. If this was like a single player, just could go through and rock and roll on this and didn't have all the gacha stuff, I'd be fine with it. And it's not even that I have a problem with the gacha stuff, because from everything I've read, it's very reasonable, that it's not really milking you for a ton of money or anything. But I just don't have the time to figure all that out. Like, I just don't. So then we got to try a trailer for, one of our favorite game series, Monster Hunter Wilds. Josh, are you gonna play? Is this gonna be your Monster Hunter of choice now, finally? Nope. Okay, cool. We then saw Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves. You like games that people punch each other in?
I do like most of the games I enjoy. Someone's punching somebody. Yes, that's true.
So does Fatal Fury, City of Wolves have you interested, since people punched each other in that?
It looks interesting. I like the art style. Fatal Fury's always been on the low scale for me for fighting games. Most of the SNK games are, unless we're going back to the arcade and playing Samurai Showdown. You probably won't see me playing like Art of Fighting or Fatal Fury or those games. They just, they weren't Street Fighter. They were the GoBots to the Transformers.
Yeah. Nope, I understand that for sure. Next we got Mecha Break. Mech 6v6, 5v5, something 6v6.
Yeah, 6v6, yeah.
Multiplayer fast-paced thing. There's a closed beta coming to Xbox.
Nice.
Right now as we record. So actually, as you listen to this,
I'll
it's probably
have to go download
it. And this full release is coming sometime next year. Josh, it sounds like maybe you are interested in Mecha Break.
It looks fun. It's not a game like the beta. Perfect. I get to play it and experience it. Virtual On, Zone of the Enders, Armored Core, these games. It reminds me of that. Those games are fun. So I'm interested to try it at least.
Yeah. All right, we'll keep going. There was so many games in this thing; it's ridiculous. Monument Valley 3 coming officially exclusively to Netflix games in December. Are you a Monument Valley fan, Josh?
I played the first one a little bit. It was fine.
Yeah.
But I don't have strong feelings toward it.
Agreed. All right, then we got some gameplay of Civ 7. Josh, you're going to be jumping on Civ 7.
I still have Civ 6, and I know I have a lot of friends who have it. I just really am craving a Civ 6 game night. I don't know if you played, but there was a time where Coach Mo and I were playing with someone else from PSVG. And I just really like it. It's more fun for me when we're playing with other people. I get a little bored when I'm playing. Like, they took these games, they take Age of Empires, which I love. So people are fighting outside. I hope it doesn't catch on the mic. And then they add this level of strategy that I get a little bored of, like the government stuff.
Yeah.
By myself. But if I'm playing with others, it makes me more competitive, and I want to play a little bit better. So
yeah. I've always said I'm far too stupid for these games, so I do not play them.
Oh, you are not. You're going to be a freaking doctor.
not in city building. Starfield Shattered Space got a release date of September 30th. Are you excited to jump back into Starfield?
In general, yes, but not because of this. I just know that the updates have been, from what I've been hearing, very good in streamlining the game a little bit. So when I played it, I liked the combat. That wasn't a problem for me. I just, for whatever reason, we were playing something else when Starfield came out. I don't remember what it was.
I don't
But
remember either.
something else had my time.
Yeah. All right, then Marvel Rivals showed a couple new characters coming, as well as giving an official release date of December 6th.
Yeah.
Josh, are we going to be jumping into Marvel Rivals come in December?
I'm certainly going to try it. I tried to play that beta, but it was too late when I tried to get
Oh.
in. Yeah, I mean, I really like their boasting of the roster and their
Mm-hmm.
focus on how the roster will be fully playable.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big plus for them. Um, and it looks cool. Looks like fun.
Yeah.
So I'll try it at least.
Yeah, I enjoyed what I played of it in the beta. It was a good time. So yeah, I'll definitely try it. Free to play. All the characters will be free. So we then got a trailer for Secret Level, which is a new Amazon video game themed anthology TV show from the makers of Love and Robots.
Yeah.
So Josh, are you going to watch Are you going to watch Secret Level?
Yeah, I wish they were a little bit more open about that at the beginning. Like, I didn't catch even that it was a show. I was like, "What is this
Oh,
for?"
gotcha.
I missed the part where it says anthology series because they do say that at the beginning.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it looks interesting. I'm all aboard. More video game stuff with this like specific lens on it, like the Star Wars Visions and Matrix, all that kind of stuff. I do enjoy that, even if they're not all good. It's like a new art form for each one, so I do appreciate that.
Yeah. We then got a trailer for Age of Mythology Retold with a release date of September 4th. I'm assuming you're excited about this.
Yeah, I am, but it's one of those things like when I'm asking you about replaying Assassin's Creed,
Right.
I just get worried that I'm just kind of done with the remasters.
I
I think we kind of covered that too in the past.
Yep.
Like, to give us those remakes,
Yep.
and let's kind of squash remasters.
Yeah. We then got a very short trailer for Towerborn, but it was announcing that it's coming to Steam Early Access on September 10th. Not even Xbox, anything, which I thought was odd. But Steam Early Access September 10th for Towerborn. You gonna jump in for early access on that, or are you gonna wait for the inevitable Game Pass release?
I don't know how I feel about the game, so no,
Yeah.
I mean, because early access is probably still going to be $30. So
yeah,
maybe if it's $10-15, I might be interested, but at 30, I'll just wait for Game Pass.
Hear you there. We then saw Delta Force Hawk Ops, which basically another type of another COD, but different. Any interest there?
Yeah, I used to play Delta Force or Delta Strike, whatever they used to be called.
Yeah.
Delta Ops, maybe.
Yeah.
Back in the day on PlayStation, I really enjoyed them. But yeah, I'll check it out. Looks like fun. Depending on, is this free to play? I forget.
I believe so.
Yeah, if it's free to play, I'm in, at least to try it.
Awesome. Hey, then we got Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Hooray.
So when this game is going to launch is February 11th, 2025. So coming out next year. Are you interested in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2?
I have the first one. I just never played it. So I don't know that I'm super excited about it.
Sure. That's basically how I feel as well. Then we got back-to-back more Hoyoverse stuff with Zenless Zone Zero updates and Honkai Star Rail updates. I'm guessing nothing there for you.
No.
All right.
No.
But then we did see Batman Arkham Shadow exclusive to MetaQuest 3. You like Batman?
Yeah, this really made me sad because I'm like, we could be getting this game, not VR. Why can't we have this Batman game, not VR? I want to beat up the Rat King, the Rat Guy, not in VR. I want to do it on my PlayStation or my Xbox. But no, we get Gotham Knights instead.
Yep. Sorry.
It's not your fault.
Yeah. Actually, that was one of the games I just deleted off of my Xbox. So, not Gotham Knights, but Suicide Squad Killer Justice League.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, but speaking of a game that we talked about but didn't see, but now saw, Little Nightmares 3.
Yeah.
So, again, coming from Supermassive, I'm assuming happy with the spookiness of this?
I like it. I like the co-op. I like that. I don't remember if part 2 had co-op or not.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I forget. I think it might have still been solo. I think this was the one with the co-op. But very cool. I love it. I love the look of it. Very cool game.
Next, we saw Herdling, which is from the developers of Far Lone Sales, a game
Yeah.
about herding yaks.
Yeah. No, thank you. It looks like just a fetch. Well, not fetch quest. What the heck is it? It was. Why can't I think of what they're called? The hostage missions. It's like what's the name for that? Games where you can't let someone die because you
Like an
die.
escort mission?
Escort. Thank you. It
Okay.
looks like an escort mission. The game.
Gotcha.
Wow, that was a tough one to come to. Makes.
I mean, yeah, so we'll see. And then Peter Molyneux came and talked about Masters of Albion. Yeah, I don't really have anything to say about that, but do you have any thoughts on Peter Molyneux and Masters of Albion?
I don't know what this game is supposed to be. It's like Monty Python meets Age of Empires? I don't meets meets that Fable game where you can fight in third person battles. Like
I mean, open world God game.
I don't.
Like other than that, I really don't know.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So
I don't know what to think about it. So I don't have a official opinion.
yeah. We then saw some more Netflix games with Squid Game Unleashed.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Cool. We then saw Unknown 9 Awakening. With a
it
release
looks
date
bad, right?
of October 18th, 2024. This game is interesting because isn't this the game that's like doing a whole bunch of like cross media stuff?
Yeah, it looks bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. The combat looks very janky.
Yeah.
I'm not even really clear what the gameplay is like. She like at one point she's fighting, at one point she's teleporting into a guy and controlling him. At one point she's on a Gatling gun on a balloon, but none of it looks exciting to me.
Yeah, no, I hear you. All right, so then we saw Arena Breakout Infinite, which is a free to play extraction shooter, which I think is already out.
I thought it was. Yeah, it seems like I've heard of this game before.
Cool. Then another trailer for Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred. Is this going to get you to, in addition to us talking about Path of Exile 2, is this going to get you to play some more Diablo?
Yes, because they talk about mercenaries, which I'm very excited about. So, and if anyone doesn't know, it's essentially giving you a sidekick while you're playing that will attack or defend or whatever you decide to choose as your mercenary.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool. I'm curious if it will be locked at a certain level that you have to be, or if you'll be able to jump in with a new character and have a mercenary at an early level. That would be really cool if they did that.
Yeah. So I have mentioned many times my desire to go back to Diablo 4, just a lack of time right now. So,
well, if we start scheduling a game night,
I know that's the goal.
We can add that in.
We then saw a trailer for the first Berserker Kazan, coming out in early 2025.
Looks fine.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this earlier in the year. Again, I don't know that it looks really much different. Still looks fine. Then Ara History Untold for the historical city builder, another God game. A lot of God games I feel like recently.
Yes, recently
I know
agree.
people love them. So then we saw Dark and Darker Mobile.
Mobile.
So are you down for some Dark and Darker on your mobile device?
No, I'm not interested. I don't even think they showed any gameplay, right?
I don't think so.
No.
All right. Then we saw Floatopia.
Okay.
Animal Crossing on a floating island, right? I feel like this is kind of what it was. Yeah.
Okay. No, thank you.
Okay, cool.
Unless we get another pandemic, then maybe.
But that's coming out next year. And then, final two things here. We saw another trailer for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle and got a release date of December 9th, 2024 on Game Pass. But in a really weird way that they announced it, spring 2025 for PS5. Josh, did you watch this trailer and thoughts on Indiana Jones and the Great Circle?
I didn't watch the trailer only because I know I want to play it and I didn't want any more story.
Yeah.
Kind of spoiled.
Fair.
Because we got a big chunk of a level last time, which I liked. That was at E3 or Games Fest. And I liked it, but I was like, oh my God, I just watched a 15-minute scene I'm going to watch again when I'm playing the game. But yeah, I mean, December 9th's great time for me
Hmm.
because like we're through most of the games, and it will be December usually cozy month, so cozying up on the couch, playing some Indiana Jones could be pretty fun.
Yeah, I am still very much looking forward to this game. Just and not to spoil, there was some gameplay shown, some kind of new mechanics that I don't think they've really shown
Oh,
before or went more
okay.
in depth on. Nothing mind-boggling, but some neat stuff, involving pictures and journals and things. My main concern with this game still is the combat does not look amazing to me still, and I think part of it is just first person punching people. It just, like we've talked about it before, it just doesn't show great, and so that's my only concern still with this game. And
If Vin Diesel can make it work, Harrison Ford can make it work.
right, I'm not saying right. I'm not. Excuse me, Troy Baker.
Oh, that's right, Troy Baker.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but I'm still gonna play it.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, so what I'm trying to decide though, right, is
you play
PlayStation
it for
obviously.
free
Well, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna
and
try it
then
for free,
decide.
and then decide. Well, I shouldn't say free. I'm gonna try it for my
Well,
Game Pass
for your
price.
subscription price,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then we'll see what happens as far as that goes. But yeah, I'm still looking forward to it. That's my only hesitation still about it.
Sure.
It's just, that looks a little rough. And then the final announcement was from the folks over at Hangar 13 and 2K. We got a, I guess, teaser slash tone setting trailer,
Yeah.
for Mafia: The Old Country, going back to some, I think, early 1900s Italy, to do a little Mafia game. Thoughts, Josh, on Mafia: The Old Country?
So I never played any of the Mafia
You've never played
games.
any of them?
I know it's crazy, right?
Wow. Okay.
Because I think I always thought it was. I think there was another PC Mafia game that was a RTS company management game.
Mm.
I think I always thought Mafia was a like a RTS style game. So I saw that they just added Mafia Remaster on Game Pass or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yep.
So I did download that to try it to see if I like it.
Yeah. And you, just and you own, because I own them all
Oh,
on
you have them
PlayStation.
on
Yeah, you have
PlayStation?
them
Okay.
all on PlayStation too. So include 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
I really like the Mafia games. Part of the things I really like about them, 3 a little bit is the outlier for this, but 1 and 2 are quote unquote open world games. But they're still very like linear story driven games. Like nothing really is too much is going on in the open world. The open world is set dressing, makes you feel like you're actually like a mafia person, like running the city, like got to drive places and things like that. So I really enjoy them overall for what they are. I think 3 is a better game than most people gave it credit for. So I'm interested in this. I'm looking forward to this. I think will it be good? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm going to keep my eye out. I think it's a bit interesting that this show opened with Borderlands 4 and ended with Mafia. It's a very 2K focused,
Yeah.
as far as that goes. But so, Josh, that's it. That kind of wraps up everything we saw at Gamescom opening night live. What were your thoughts on the show overall? Not obviously you didn't watch it, but going through all those games, feel
Go.
good to you? Feel not great to you? What
Yeah.
are your
I
thoughts?
mean, going through those games made me feel better about it than when I was looking at my YouTube feed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's definitely some interesting games in there. I just completely forgot that there was a Keeley thing. I thought it was just going to be day 1, day 2, and day 3.
From
So
all the Xbox
I
stuff.
didn't even realize it was going on. So
Yeah.
I think it also started on my commute home too. So that also might be part of why I didn't watch it.
Yeah, it was at like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock my time, I
Oh,
feel
so it
like.
was. Oh, okay, yeah. So it was close.
Yeah.
I would have been like leaving in the middle of it.
So, but cool. All right, well, Josh, hey, we've been going for a couple hours. Probably should wrap this
Yeah,
show up. How's that sound to you?
we can certainly do that. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, we're going to leave you with listeners with our recommendation for a well-rounded life. Obviously, we're a gaming podcast, but we want to give you one other thing we're currently into that's kind of helping us live that balanced life. So, Josh, what is your recommendations this month?
Okay, I got 2. We'll start with Furiosa. Furiosa just hit Max if you have that. Or now you don't forget you can do Max, Disney, and Hulu together. And then it'll show on, like if you go into Hulu now, it shows you stuff that's on Max. And it just takes you right to it. You don't even have to change apps, which is really cool. Um, but yeah, Furiosa. Not only I would say saying I love Mad Max Fury Road is an understatement because seeing Mad Max Fury Road in the theater changed my life. I had never seen the movie the way I saw how I experienced Fury Road in the theaters. Uh, when I guess I never knew that I never truly knew that feeling of glued to your seat or sitting on the edge of your seat until like I watched Fury Road in theaters. It blew me away. And that's like a huge thing with George Miller and his practical effects. He really knows how to do that very well. So I was excited for Furiosa, but like tepid, like nervous excitement. Like I don't know if it can be as good as Fury Road, and it wasn't as
Mm-hmm.
good as Fury Road, but it's still a very good movie. And there's a couple of scenes where the CGI is CGI. Like Miller has a way of filming where sometimes his shots look like CGI, but it's actually just sped up film, so it has a weird effect while you're watching it. But there was also some parts in here that was very obviously CGI,
Right.
and in practical effects scenes, kind of took me out of them a little bit. But overall, just a really fun movie to watch. Chris Hemsworth like eats that movie up. It's very funny,
Right.
and he's really good in it. Um, and then it is weird. Anya Taylor Joy is actually doing a Charlize Theron impression
Mm-hmm.
from dialect to mannerisms. It's very odd to watch, um, but it's still good. I really enjoyed it. And then if you can, I say this is a one to see in the theaters. Alien Romulus. If you're an Alien fan like I am, uh, it is very good. There are some glaring issues I had with it. I can look past it because it's just a very good, um, again, fun story. It's like Stranger Things in space in the Alien universe. It's because it features like a young cast, which is nice because you can see the younger person perspective from of this situation. It
Mm-hmm.
takes place 30 years after the first movie.
Okay.
Um, it's not scary. There is, I want to say, one jump scare, and that's it in the whole movie. Otherwise, it's just a very fun, well made science fiction film. And Fede Alvarez directs it, and I'm a big fan of his. So those are my recommendations.
Um, Furiosa is on my short list to watch here very soon. I will echo your comments about seeing Mad Max in the theater. Still one of my most memorable movie going experiences ever was
Same.
seeing that movie in the theater because I went by myself. I
Oh,
was at
nice.
a
I was with my buddy, but
I
yeah,
was at a conference for work, like elsewhere. So I was in a different city, and I was like, well, I got there the day before, didn't really have anything to do that night, so I went and saw it, and it was just awesome. It was so
yeah,
cool to go see that movie. Like they're like just the people in the theater, like how they were reacting. It was just so cool. That was a heck of an experience. So my recommendation, I decided time to get back on the documentary train, right? I've been off the documentary train for a bit. So let's get back on it. So Josh, let me ask you a question. If you are the Guinness Book of World Record holder for the most summit of Mount Everest by a female, what do you think you're doing in your life when it's not mountain climbing season?
training for mountain climbing.
Um, the answer to that is incorrect. You are working as a dishwasher at Whole Foods in Massachusetts.
No way.
Yes way, sir. So Mountain Queen, the summits of Lakpa Sherpa,
I can go
uh,
visit this lady
potentially. I mean, it was
and
obviously filmed a
watch.
couple years ago.
Oh, hopefully she's not working there anymore.
Is about Lakpa Sherpa, who is a female Sherpa who holds the Guinness Book of World Records for most successful summits of Everest. I think it's like 10. And so this documentary just follows her, and her, she's a single mom, if I recall, and kind of just talks a little bit about her life. And I was absolutely shocked because, yeah, when it's not mountain climbing season, she works as a dishwasher at Whole Foods. So she,
Wow.
comes back to the U.S. Or I mean, she's obviously not originally from here, but comes to the U.S. Works. Her kids are here, and then she goes back and Sherpas. So really interesting. It is going to be a quote unquote slower documentary if you're into those like really like fast paced actiony ones, but the story is fascinating. Learning about the Sherpa people, there's a lot of conversation just about the Sherpa people. That most of them have the last name Sherpa, and that many of them have the exact same names because when many of the Sherpa folks are born, they're just named after the day of the week that they're born on.
Oh my goodness.
So Lakpa Sherpa is because I think she was born on a Wednesday. And they make no differentiation between boys and girls as far as their names go.
Wow.
So there's a lot of people, and because they're done that, because they feel their gods, the days of the week are named after gods, and that those gods will protect the people born on those days. So that's why they name them like that. But it's a really fascinating documentary to kind of just learn about how Sherpas came to be a thing and kind of how all of that happened, and why climbing the Everest became a thing, and kind of all of that stuff. So it is interesting. Like I said, you have to either probably be really into mountain climbing or really just into learning about very, very interesting people and things that you just would not believe to be true. But it's a really well done documentary. Some absolutely incredible visuals during it. But that's Mountain Queen, and it is on Netflix. Josh, what do you say we wrap this show up?
Thanks for joining us, everyone. In addition to finding us on Twitter or X and Instagram at Board with VG, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/boardwithvg. So feel free to give us a 5-star rating over there. Also, if you want to communicate in the more long form, or you're just not feeling social media, please feel free to email us at boardwithvg@gmail.com. We do tag our stuff with hashtag boardwithvg when we post. So please feel free to use that hashtag as well so we can search and see what you're up to. And whatever podcast service you're listening to us on, we encourage you to give us a stellar rating. That is whether you're downloading us from the Dice Tower Network feed or our very own standalone Board with Video Games feed. You can find me on Xbox Live, PlayStation Network, etc. at Why So Serious. That's SIRRIUS. Kyle, where can people find you?
So you can find me on all the usual places: Twitter, Instagram, PlayStation Network, Xbox Live, Board Game Geek, Cyclocross, CYCOCROSS. As always, if you have suggestions for future topics, be sure to reach out to us on social media because we want to talk about what you want to hear about. And remember, everyone, whether it be board games or video games, never stop gaming.